The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on it. He missed the complete. He's crazy
As I
stuff.
said, Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
While the Pacific Majors have visited 4 of the world's most legendary tracks, today's race will be the first of the season not held in North America. Spa-Francorchamps started its life nearly a century ago in a much longer and much more dangerous layout. Fast forward to modern day and the drivers are met with a much shorter and safer circuit, but one that is no less challenging. With this race marking the halfway point of the season, it will begin to become clear who are the serious challengers for the championship today. After watching round 6, you're watching round 6 of the Pacific Majors live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak. With me in the booth tonight is Bill Soupzon. And standing in for our usual GT3 expert Kevin Brown is our own Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director Giancarlo Lindsay, and his cameras have been provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, we've seen Daytona, we've seen Indy, we've seen Sebring, but we've yet to see a track this season that's anything like Spa. Tell us a little more about the circuit.
Yeah, Joe, Spa-Francorchamps here in Belgium. Really technical track with a lot of high speed opportunities here. 19 turns, lots to look out for. 4.35 miles. We're going to run around here for 2.4 hours today, 144 minutes. This is going to be a very interesting race. We've got a lot of cars. And we've got a really big track to get around with a lot of high-speed passing opportunities. We'll start this race out of La Source and up through Rouge and around Rédillon and through the Kemmel Strait. We'll see a lot of movement there early, and then everybody has to get down hard on it through Lacombe, and then through Bruxelles. You'll be really tricky through there. You'll see a lot of cars probably get offline there. And then the very, very difficult Pouhon will present challenges for everybody. Lots of room to run off there and get off track. You're really going to have to keep that car steady through there. This race is about attrition. We'll get one reset, but you're still going to have to take care of this car for almost 2.5 hours today. Joe, we're going to take a look at the track now. We'll throw it to our GSRC car going around the track now here for our lap guide.
All right, Kevin Brown is behind the wheel of the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Spa. The very first corner is the nefarious La Source hairpin. Turn 1 pileups are common here, so drivers will need their heads on a swivel. 3 and sometimes even 4 wide can happen as everyone jockeys for position. As you exit, getting the power down is going to be critical due to the combination of the downhill and the long acceleration zone. Heading by the old pits, you got to hug that wall to the right and set up for Eau Rouge. Then hold your breath and keep your foot down as you try to straighten this baby out. Guys who push wide at Rédillon are going to wind up with a slowdown penalty, and that is going to hurt as everyone blows by them along the Kemmel Strait. Now we switch to an uphill climb to the highest point on the circuit. The Lacombe chicane coming up will be one of your best passing opportunities, though it is possible to defend from the outside. You can expect guys to pass up an easy overtake into La Source and wait to get somebody here. As you switch back and forth, make sure you set up for Malmedy to keep anybody from getting a run on you toward Ravage. Now it's all downhill from here. Literally. We've got a steep plunge into the braking zone and all the way around this 180-degree corner. You're likely to experience understeer, but before you know it, it's time to get to the right and flick it through no-name corner. Now we set it up for Pouhon. With the grip of these cars, there's just a little braking and then holding on as the car tries to slide wide into that paved runoff. As soon as you feel you've got the line, time to ease onto that right pedal and accelerate the rest of the way around this very fast corner. Careful how wide you drift on the exit though, with the slippery AstroTurf right beside the curb. Get back to the left, and now we've got Fagnes. Make sure and hug the inside on that right-hander to give yourself the best launch towards Stavelot. Once again, be wary of that AstroTurf. One more switchback, and it's a pretty straightforward 90-degree corner for this first part. But the real important thing is the next right-hander. We only have to lift a little, but wait too long, and you'll lose time hand over fist down the backstretch. You've got some mild little turns, but once again, there's no lifting all the way. Even as you come up to Blanchimont, the grip of this car lets you stay in it easily. Just carry as much of your momentum as you can, and then drift back to the left and spot your brake marker for the bus stop. This is probably your next best chance to get beside another car in the braking zone. I've seen passes made both inside and outside, so pick your poison and hold firm. There's even a possibility of pulling a switchback if you time it right. But as we pull back to the main straight, we've now finished a lap around Spa. So as you can see, it's a fairly long lap around here. Despite the 2.4-hour race time, they're not going to get that many in around this fairly long distance track. But before we get to the actual race, let's talk about the championship and how that's shaping out. Bill, what are we looking at with this?
Well, there's a lot to do. They're going to hustle through this before they grid up here. In the Governor's Cup, we'll start there. The Northwest team has the lead, but, it's really a case of my white sheep more than my black sheep. They just have so many drivers to get lots of points there. Texas is running second, 131 points back in striking distance. The Jerry Browns, the California team, is trailing the Texans by about 600 points, and then bringing up the rear there is the John Hinkleloppers. I think he's the governor of, Colorado, Arizona, one of those. They're way back. This don't have enough drivers to get them competitive there. Let's move over to the Drivers' Championship, and I'll be honest, I have no idea how this thing is going to play out. It's a smorgasbord of events. You got the ovals, the road races, the Predator race. It makes it hard to figure out any trends. Alan Hayspec is out in front, but I think his forte is ovals. Rob Gale, Brian Barnes, and Ethan Moore below follow next. And I don't expect to be calling their names much today. When the dust settles, James Wyckoff, currently in fifth, has the speed and of all the disciplines to grab the crown here. Moving on, in the sportsman division, Mike Franklin leads the way. Ben Blank is in second, and Mark Redeker sits in third, but Blank draws a blank today as he's not racing, and Redeker and Franklin are racing, but they did not make the pro split. They'll be starting fourth and seventh in the amateur split, broadcast by our friends at Live Sim Racing TV. In the Legends division, Rob Gell sits at the point lead ahead of Brian Barnes, and Wayne Hutchinson and Steve Paulison tied for third. All four qualified for this split. Going for the big kahuna, that's for California there. Lionel Little Train Callisto tops the charts. 4 points back is Michael Smith, and Jason Pitts follows next. All three California drivers racing in the top split today. The Northwest Bigfoot standings looks a lot like the Legend standings, with Brian Barnes leading Wayne Hutchinson and Paul Stevenson. The Texas Championship has Alan Hayspec leading, Ethan Moore in second, and James Wyckoff and David Ankerney tied for third. Moore is not here today. Hayspec starts 20th, Ankerney starts 36th. So look for Wyckoff starting fourth to climb the charts. And finally, in the Outlaw division, Rob Gall is comfortable in front. Dave Williams and Jason Fleishley start second and third. All three drivers inside the top 15 of our pro split. Joe, I love this series, familiar drivers everywhere, but the changing discipline always shuffles up the starting grid.
It certainly does. Well, and that's what's so great about this series is it's definitely proving who is the best overall driver. You got to really be all around great and keep collecting points and a variety of different challenges, even from the ovals to the roads. And you can see the checkered flag is out as we just have a couple seconds ticking down to warn drivers, and then they're going to get to the grid, and we are going to read that out to you in just a moment here as I add some more seconds on here just to psych me out, apparently. Now we've gone to the grid. So now that our grid is populated, let's read off to you how they're going to start this race. Tony Lamberti is going to start on pole with Amjad Yaman rounding out the front row. Ryan Otis starts in third with James Wyckoff in fourth and Ryan Huff in fifth. Jason Fleishley will start the race in sixth, followed by Lionel Callisto in seventh, Kevin Brown in eighth, and Blake Reynolds in ninth. And rounding out the top 10, Bill, is Brian Bennett.
In 11th, Davis Williams. Outside of him, Brandon Hobart. Larry Ford sits on the Baker's Dozen spot. Jimbo Pfeiffer. Rob Gall sits 15th. Outside of him, Mark Gugujabinski. Kyle Murphy sits in 17th spot. James Paulson, starts at 18th there. Michael Smith in 19th, rounding out the top 20. Alan Hayspec. Sean?
Brian Barnes in 21st, Carl Burke 22nd, Jack Hinchman in 23rd. Chris Pence, 24th. Mike Taylor starting 25th today. Sam Bourne, 26th. Michael Lane, 27th. Bob Beltrami, 29th. Brett Trozen will start 30th, and I'll take us home. Jason Pitts, 31st. Wayne Hutchinson, 32nd. Chris Beck, 33rd. And Matt Gelder rounds out the field at number 34. We're starting 34th.
And here the pace car, you can see leading them around Blanchimont and up to the bus stop chicane. Just don't call it that around Kevin Brown. He'll certainly give you an earful about that. But they'll have a couple more corners, and then thankfully they're not starting on La Source for this one, Bill.
No, they're gonna start us in a little bit. With all these cars coming around, that would be exciting to see.
Absolutely. Even though the pace car is peeling off now, they're going to have to work their way around La Source, and then they will get the green flag after that on the downhill to Eau Rouge.
I hear some problems.
We got them stacking up here in the back. A few guys got into each other.
Who are they?
Wayne Hutchinson was in the middle of the sandwich there.
Oh.
He had Brett Trozen right in front of him and Gelder right behind him.
Unfortunately, it looks like we weren't able to catch it on screen. So obviously a few guys having a bit of troubles early on, but already, wow, Tony Lamberti is stretching away, making sure he gets a great jump on this start. Amjad Yaman is going to take second already, and Ryan Otis in third as now they start to string about single file up through Eau Rouge.
Oh, got a spinner. It's Jason Fleishley, looks like he's in the wall.
Fleishley already with some problems you can see. Oh, and that looks like that's at the top of the hill. Oh, and he's going to have to already get a tow. So that must have been a hard hit. Let's look at the replay, see what happened here.
He was side by side, and they just made contact.
This is heading down the hill. Not sure who that is he's side by side with. They started to get single file, and then he gave him room. Oh, and it looks like the car came out from under him up at the top of the hill, and he took a big hit going up on his side for a moment there at the top. So that explains why he decided he needed to take a tow. Meanwhile, it looks like everybody else is pretty much toned it down, trying to just get cars single file. And I think that's going to be a theme early on, Sean. It's just everybody trying to get themselves a little bit of space for this.
Yeah, well, I had my eye on Mike Taylor there for a moment, the number 66 in the Momo car and the Momo Porsche. And Mike dropped, lost about 10, 12 positions there, just kind of dropped all the way to the back. So not sure exactly what happened, but he is back on the power now, and they are slicing and dicing here at the back right now. We've got a few cars that just haven't quite found the speed yet, and the track temperature pretty hot today. It's 98 degrees on the track, so a little slick out here, so you're going to have to watch yourself in the early stages.
And that was Ryan Huff, Joe, that got together with Fleishley. So just so we clarify that.
So Ryan Huff obviously having some issues early on as well, although not major ones, just trying to keep out of trouble. We're looking at Mike Taylor and that Momo roof at the moment as he heads through Blanchimont down to the bus stop chicane. In fact, already way up ahead of him, Tony Lamberti, still in the lead, is coming around La Source and going to complete lap one. So tick one off for this race already. We still got a long time to go, still 2 hours and 21 minutes on the clock.
And here's some irony. I get an email right before the race from Fleishley saying, the key to this race for me is going to be staying out of trouble because there's a lot of drivers who are here that aren't running for the points. And he listed some names like Lamberti and Yaman, who are just kind of ringers coming in to get a little practice for the upcoming event that's happening in iRacing. And sure enough, first lap he gets caught out.
Yeah, sometimes isn't that always the pattern that we hear drivers say? Is it's the ones that say I'm just here for the safety rating that wind up causing trouble. And Fleishley is apparently, he's not in our ready for interview room, but he is in our team speak. I know he got a tow, so he might still get back out there. There's still stuff to race for. We're looking at our leader, Lamberti, still on screen in the McLaren, trying to be chased down by Yaman in his BMW. Right now, about 1.3 seconds between first and second. So even though Lamberti got a good jump, he hasn't been able to really stretch away quite yet.
And Sean, just to follow up on the tow, then we'll leave the Fleishley issue. We'll say goodbye to that. He crashed just at the other side of pit lane, so I imagine how iRacing does it as a tow all the way around the track. It may take them, 5 minutes before they actually start preparing that car.
Well, yeah, and then there's the trip down pit lane, which is a monster trip down pit lane. You're on there for a very long time, so I can imagine. Yeah, we're talking close to 5, maybe even 6 minutes, Bill.
Meanwhile, I'm jumping a little bit farther back, and I see Larry Ford, David Williams, Jimbo Pfeiffer, all very close on track. A bit of a battle here for 9th, 10th, and 11th. Larry Ford is the one leading the way in that red, white, and blue Ford there at the front of the line. Or no, excuse me, he's in that orange and black Ford that you can see on your screen.
Look at the Ford now as they come down the straightaway. Watch the horsepower of these Fords. I really think they're the sleeper car. The top 8 spots were between the McLarens and the BMWs. But my guess is by the time this thing settles down, look for the Fords to work their way up to the top.
I've heard a number of drivers say that they are the favored car. They seem to be the fastest one around here, just good all around. And yet some were saying they haven't seen a lot of people picking it. So I'll have to look at the numbers to see how many actually are driving the Ford. But it certainly is showing well in these early stages.
Well, Joe and Sean, when talking to the drivers about what car, why they chose the car they did, 95% of them said, it may not be the fastest, but it's the one I'm the most comfortable in. So that could be why the BMWs and the McLarens are out there, because certainly they, Vince.
And that certainly makes sense, as actually we're watching a battle here go on as Larry Ford is being chased down by Williams. Williams looking to the outside, down the Kimmel Straight. He got a bit of a run, but it looks like he's stalled now that he's pulled out of the draft of Ford. He's going to be on the outside coming up to this chicane. He can still get it done if he can hold on, and in fact he does. Has the inside as it switches back over. So take another point for David Williams as he moves up a spot.
And as I just talked about horsepower, and then the McLaren blew by him down the straightaway. So there you go.
But you make a great point that drivers picking a car that they feel comfortable in. Even though this is not a 24-hour race, real endurance, it's still quite a slog to get through this thing. So feeling comfortable seems to me something that would be very important when picking what you're driving.
Well, apparently some drivers really felt comfortable in the roof, but they're really slow. They're going to have a hard time. We'll be lucky to see a roof in the top 20 today.
So, guys, I'm back here watching Ryan Otis right now, trying to work on Chris Pence just in front of him. But, Ryan started this race third and now finds himself mired back in 22nd, trying to get that 20th spot away right now. And he is missing the hood and looks to have still some pretty significant damage on the car, but is still finding the speed. So I guess all that SCCA experience paying off right now, fighting that ill-handling car out there, guys.
There you can see Otis in that red and blue McLaren. He's being followed very closely by Sam Boren. He is in that black and yellow Ford GT just behind him. Not really a passing spot here as they come up to Blanchemont. He's going to get a chance as they come up to the bus stop. Let's see what he does. McLaren tends to be pretty good under braking. He's fairly close. Is he going to peek out? Takes a little look, but doesn't really do anything. This is a really well-behaved group early on. I hate to put the commentator's curse, but there's not really wild dives or anybody driving too aggressively in these early stages.
Yeah, I really haven't seen that at all. I've really been focusing here on the back half of the pack, and everybody's behaving themselves. I mean, we've seen a few cars maybe have a little bit of trouble navigating through a turn or two, but so far so good. That little stack up at the beginning there, Wayne Hutchinson did suffer some damage on that BMW, but he is still out there running and working with it and hanging in there.
We're on board with Boren, who's still trying to chase down the car of Ryan Otis just ahead of him. And look at Otis getting very close to Brian Barnes. He looks to the inside down into Lacombe. Clearly outbrakes him, as it looks like Barnes might have actually let him go through.
Oops, got a crasher, and it looks like it's Matt Gelder is in the wall.
Ooh, and that's at the top of Eau Rouge yet again, like that first lap that we saw with Fleischle. And he also gets a tow. We're going to look at the replay, see how this unfolded. He's already got some damage on the front of his roof, looking at it, and he was in 32nd at the time, so he was struggling. Takes a little bit of curb, and it's almost an exact copy of what we saw with Fleischle, where the rear end starts to get light, and it catches him out. I hear a lot of people, real quick, Bill, talk about how these GT3 cars are made to be easy to drive because they're kind of, playboy cars where guys get a lot of money and drive them. But from what I'm seeing from these guys, it's no easy feat to really push these things.
No, it isn't. Well, I guess it's easy to drive if you're taking it to Studio 54. Now, boy, did I just date myself there. We like to look for the battles on the track. The best battle on the track is right up at the front with Lamberti and Yaman. Yaman is really giving him a hard time. Lamberti seems to get a real good exit on a corner exit and drives away. But Yaman is really pestering him.
He's closed up since we last saw. Remember, we said it was about 1.3 last time we checked in with him, but that was a couple laps ago. They're on lap 5. Looks like they're ticking off lap 6 now. And Lamberti has only about 7-8 tenths over Yaman. Now they come over the hill. Let's see if he can improve it with a good run out of it. No, it's staying just about the same. Draft will once again start to come into play, and Yaman will start to close in even from that far back usually.
Yeah, and it's really not the accordion effect. Yaman is really good into the corner, and Lamberti is really good at getting the McLaren out of the corner. So it'd be interesting to see if they can swap positions, who would drive away.
Here we ride on the dashboard of Yaman heading down into Rivage. Now, with Yaman being in the BMW and with Lamberti being in the McLaren, we haven't talked a whole lot about the differences between these cars. And I'm wondering if that comes into play as well, with Yaman being really good on the brakes here.
Well, I know Amjad's talking about that the tires go away on the BMW. He has to really be careful or it really starts to plow. So he wants to watch out for that. One thing about Amjad, full disclosure, we know Amjad, he's one of the directors for GSRC. I'm probably going to get in trouble for this. Amjad's really good at taking a 10th place car and getting it a 5th place finish, a 5th place car and getting a 3rd place finish. But darn it, he's awful really good at taking a winning car and getting it a 20th place finish. So let's see if he can avoid the bad luck that seems to plague him whenever he has that checker flag close to him. We'll see what he does here today.
Certainly positioning himself well, and I wonder if maybe he's pushing hard now to try and put the pressure on Lamberti before the tires do go off on this car, so that he can try and keep hold in the latter stages of his stint. I've heard him say that he's definitely taking tires in the first one as he really closes up under braking for the bus stop. And it's a kind of a crapshoot on whether or not you take tires on the second stop. Now, other drivers have told us definitely take tires, but according to Amjad's calculations, it's going to be really a toss-up on whether it's worth taking them or not.
And Sean, before we go to you, the guy I've been keeping an eye on is Blake Reynolds. Now, he's your fastest Ford. And again, I'm telling you, the Fords are the cars to watch out for. He is running down the 3rd place car of Ryan Huff that's just ahead of him. I think in the long run, those Fords are going to be something to deal with.
Yeah, well, I'm watching one of them right now. Sam Bourne in the Stanley Tools Ford. He's working his way up through the field, battling just a gaggle of traffic here. Chris Pence up in this battle, David Williams, Mark Jabinski, all of them have been battling for these 16th, 15th, 18th, 19th, and 20th positions here for several laps, and it is heating up. But Bourne right now showing the speed. He is that Ford is fast, and he right now has David Williams just up there in front of him. That's the next conquest, and he's getting to him quick.
And actually, we didn't see it on screen. Now we're seeing the battle between Pence and Williams. They swap places at La Source. Williams trying to make the pass back up to Lecombe, but he backs out of it, decides better of it. He had the inside even. So, obviously playing a bit of a timid strategy early on. Now, and Williams is... go ahead, Bill.
When you get a chance, you can follow it. But there's a dogfight back here for 10th position with Pfeiffer, Smith, Gall, Murphy, and Paulison. Whoa, it's a pinata full of bees.
Those guys are all fairly close. We're still on Williams right now. I'm keeping half an eye on that battle that you mentioned as Williams goes way wide, gets himself an incident point. Now, I don't believe they have an incident limit in this series. Let me double check that. There is no incident limit, so these guys can abuse the limits of Spa. However, I do believe they have live marshals, so they might not take too kindly of guys taking to that paved runoff too much here.
Jack Hinchman, this got tapped into the wall. We don't need to go to it. He's back out on the track, but all you Hinchman fans, he ran into a little trouble running in 27th position.
Well, let's jump up to that battle between Ford and Pfeiffer, actually, because Ford is really closing in on the back of Pfeiffer. Now he's got a really good run as they're coming up to Blanchimont. This is a very tricky corner to go side by side. He actually forces him off into the grass, and Ford is going to have to back out of it. Pfeiffer goes very wide out of the corner, but still manages to pull himself a gap. This makes Ford vulnerable as Michael Smith looks to the inside, down into the bus stop. Has to back out of it once again, and they're still in the same order as they were, with Ford in 10th, Smith in 11th, and Gall in 12th.
There's a 9-car train behind Pfeiffer.
We're riding on board with Ford at the moment. Boy, that was tense moments. I guess he didn't expect Pfeiffer to really push him that hard up to the edge there. He didn't completely squeeze him off, but he gave him just about a car's width of room.
Now this is, as we come down here, this is where I would think that the Ford would really be able to run down the BMW up there at top end speed, but it really hasn't been happening as much as I thought it was.
The cars seem to be fairly well balanced, but we do have a BMW, interestingly enough, chasing down a Ford. That's Michael Smith. They were, as we look out the back of Jimbo Pfeiffer, going to try and outbrake Ford down into Lacombe. Does so cleanly. He's got the spot. That is Smith up into 10th position.
It's a nice, clean move he made.
Very decisive.
Now, we haven't talked about pit stops. I think we're looking at 2 stops during this race. They can go all the cars can go about an hour. So we have to watch out for anybody doing the hokey doke, the T-Berry shuffle, coming in and pitting in the next 10 minutes and then doing long stints. We think most of the guys are going to go an hour and then the splash and go and maybe to change tires. That's the option.
Yep, and it could necessarily change if guys find themselves in a draft battle and they know they're faster than the car that they're fighting with. So we'll see if anybody tries to change on the fly just to get themselves some track space. Just a little bit behind, we can see that battle between Ford and Rob Gall. Ford in the orange and black Ford, Gall in the black and white BMW. And it looks like Gall lost a little bit of ground heading into Curve of Paul Frere there.
Very nice.
I got my trap Mac up. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and the battle behind him isn't too bad either. Lots of fighting going on here early. We're starting to see the heat intensify just a bit out here as everybody now trying to make some moves here throughout the race.
Bill, I think you're responding to what I saw.
I don't know if we caught that on camera, but Michael Smith said, "Not now." He really closed the door on Gall as Gall was making a move down the straight.
I think that was
Ford.
Ford,
yeah.
Ford's having a bad time with Blanchimont these last couple of laps, but Smith closing in on the back of Pfeiffer, heading down into La Source, but doesn't get a good exit as Pfeiffer's able to stretch himself away. This is going to get interesting once they get to the top of the hill, though, because that draft is going to come right back.
Meanwhile, the leaders are holding station. We're not missing anything up there.
Up over the crest, Sean. And it looks like everybody's just about even, although Ford looks like he had a fairly decent run on Smith.
Ford's still running really well here. He's got a hot machine. That Ford he's driving is hooked up well, and he's doing a decent job of navigating this traffic. He's got to watch out, though, being sandwiched right there between those two BMWs. That's not a good place to be right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't that one of the most difficult things to do with racing is when you're trying to attack the guy in front, and yet you've got a threat from behind?
Yeah, so close behind, too. It's not like he's a couple of seconds. He's right there at every turn trying to drive it just a little deeper and, get every advantage he can on Larry. But Larry's holding his own right now. He's having a little trouble getting to that Michael Smith machine there right in front of him. But we'll see here over the coming laps. We're about to hit a couple of passing opportunities coming up right now.
I wonder if Smith is having some trouble with aero wash because he keeps getting right up close to Jim Pfeiffer, and then suddenly he can't seem to do anything. And Jimbo Pfeiffer disappeared on my screen for a second.
He's disappeared on mine, too.
Oh, disappointing to see.
Sad.
Yep, he's gone.
It looks like he is having some serious internet
And here
connection
comes
problems.
Ford.
Yeah.
Here comes Ford, making a move to the inside. Oh,
Oh!
Smith fighting with him, not willing to give it up. They're heading as they head to the chicane.
Oh, and they're going to try side by side through here as well, and it's Ford who wins that game of chicken, and they are really stacking up behind these guys with them battling. This is 3 times now we've seen Ford almost go too wide. This time he did go too wide through Blanchimont.
Yeah, and Smith had a little something to say to him on the radio there. I didn't catch it, but there was words exchanged.
Well,
Probably not
who's-
repeatable.
Look who has popped back on the screen there. I'm seeing Pfeiffer is back. He just showed up on my screen. So he didn't go away.
And he is still in the same position, and that's not what Larry Ford is going to want to see.
Or
and
not
Larry
see.
Ford goes way wide. He might get a cut course as he came over the crest there. He looked like he was far into that runoff. He's not slowing down,
Not yet.
so maybe he just got lucky there. You got to be very careful there, Sean, with that the runoff at the top of Eau Rouge and the way that iRacing deals with it.
Yeah, that they'll slow you down for sure. I've certainly run it off there plenty of times and had that slowdown, and I seem to be able to make it up in Lacombe, so I go all the way down Kemmel and get down there to Lacombe, and I make up the time there.
That's a relatively smart idea.
Joe and Sean, we were talking about the Smith Ford comments back and forth. You know, that'd been going on for a while. That's the one we Smith moved over on him when it was he was going to make a pass. Boy, the lead. Maybe we can get a shot at the lead here. Yaman is now. I think he may have a run. He just can't get that BMW to bite on corner exit to run down the leader, but he's right there.
He's only a third of a second behind Lamberti. This is for the lead. We can see it on screen now. Amjad Yaman in the BMW behind the McLaren of Lamberti, trying to run him down into the bus stop, and he's not close enough to outbrake him. Let's see how he closes in. Right on top of him as we ride on the dashboard of Amjad. He's going to try and get good bite, as you said, out of this chicane down to La Source. Another good passing zone. And once again, just not good enough.
I really want to capture this pass for the lead if it happens, but you know we can't just stay on this lead battle for the whole time. But maybe we can get Amjad to like honk his horn or something when he's going to make his move, so we know to get back. Because he's on. This has been going on and on and on for 23 minutes, and you can see how he loses ground on the. You know, I don't know how he's going to make the pass. He has another hour, 2 hours to get it done, but.
And the Bimmers are notorious for not having the greatest top speed, so I feel like he's trying to use as much as he can under braking where the car can finally gain some advantage. He's just going to have to really find a mistake from Lamberti, I think, and be close enough to really outbrake him into one of these corners.
Yeah, well, in 23 minutes, Lamberti has been flawless so far.
He's still got 2 hours and 2 minutes to stay flawless, though, so it is not over by any stretch of the imagination.
Now, Sean, we are in the pit window for people who want to do the dipsy-do and come in and take that early stop. They can go the distance from here. We're not going to be fooled. We're going to keep an eye on that for somebody dashing in because we don't want them to sneak in and say all of a sudden, hey, where'd that guy come from? But so far, I don't think we have any takers from the leaders.
In the meantime, we've got a battle going on between Jubinski and Pence a little ways back for 17th and 18th.
That's exactly what I was watching, man. They were dragging down Kemmel and having quite a race there, and neither one of them wanted to give, and finally they did. Cooler heads prevailed, but those two, Pence and Jubinski.
Whoa!
Oh, and Pence is off.
He's way off. He was almost up to the wall there.
Now coming down through Blanchimont here. Tricky part of the track here.
It's a very difficult corner. It really invites you to get on the power, especially with that paved runoff, but it can bite you if you do it a little too soon.
I'm sorry, that was Puhan we were heading through. I got my names mixed up. Sorry, guys.
And it looks like this battle has petered out just a little bit, but a little ways up. Carl Burke is not far behind Hesbeck and James Paulson. In fact, wow, Burke has a really good run heading down to Blanchimont. Let's see if he can try and get up next to Alan Noah. It looks like he might have lifted.
Now, Burke is the caboose of the train that was up ahead, the Forrest Smith train, we're going to call it, the Pfeiffer train. These guys were really backed up there for a while. It's stretched out a little bit now. Well, not that much, huh?
Yeah, they get back together. Oh, and I see a car in the pits. Who is that? That is Michael Smith.
Okay, there's your dipsy-do.
Is this, well, the question is this a planned stop, or did he get some sort of penalty, maybe?
Well, I don't see any damage on the car, but he's making that long trip. You've got to go through the regular pit area and then come all the way around La Source, then over to the endurance pit area. So that is just taking forever, losing precious time as he slowly makes his way through. I think that pit speed is 35 miles an hour, or is it 40?
Looks like it's 37 is what he's sticking to right now. And the cars do have a pit limiter, but this is basically the equivalent of you trying to get to a show or a game or something, and you're stuck in stop-go traffic. It feels like an eternity. Now he's to his stall. So it looks like this is probably a scheduled stop.
Okay, now also out of the mix is Jimbo Pfeiffer. Now, I don't know if he pitted. Maybe I can go back and see if he pitted. Let's see. Or if it was an internet problem. But he's running right now back in 31st position.
I do not see any notes on here about him losing connection, so I think it should be something that...
Let's see if he came in for an early pit stop. Yeah, he's been in the pits. He came in. So Smith and Pfeiffer are both in. So that makes, that puts Ford now at the top of that train then.
And you can see Pfeiffer is now currently scored in 32nd. He'll be picking up positions as everybody else starts to play out their pit strategy. I've jumped back up to the front where Amjad Yaman is once again right on the rear bumper of Lamberti. They're going to stretch out just a little bit. But under braking every single time, he is about within a car length.
And not to be forgotten about are Huff and Reynolds. They're not really in the picture, but they're not losing any ground to these guys. They're running second and third respectively, staying right there. They have them in sight.
And if they start battling, Huff and Reynolds could very much come into play, and we could see a 4-car battle for the lead. So definitely watch this space sort of situation as we see Reynolds in his black, white, and red Ford on screen. Looking down to see if there's any close battles going on a little bit farther down the field.
Well, I'm still kind of keeping an eye on this battle with Carl Burke and David Williams, Chris Pence, Jabinski, Michael Lane in that mix, and just we've got about 7 or 8 cars right now, all challenging for those spots from like 14th back, and really good racing going on. They're all pushing their cars to the limits, as you can see them heading. They just got through our Rouge already on there. Carl Burke having a little bit of trouble. Yep.
A lot of trouble, because look at Pence just stream on by. Takes the position with ease. In fact, he's going to be under threat from Jabinski once they get to the braking zone. Saved by the bell as Carl Burke now finally is able to keep Jabinski at bay. In fact, he even manages to close up on Pence. And it sounds like there's something going on in 5th through 10th.
Well, not really, but I thought maybe we'd give these guys a little screen time since things are calming down there a little bit. Let's go ahead and look at James Wyckoff running in 5th place, comfortably there. These guys certainly could be seen at the front when all things are said and done. They're just running their race. We'll back up one more spot. Kevin Brown running in 6th position in the McLaren. We go back one more spot. We haven't heard much from Brandon Hobart running in 7th place in that beautiful colored car, that blue and red and white EcoBoost car. Very pretty car. Back to 8th place position for Brian Bennett. And then we go back one more spot. That gets us back then to Larry Ford, who we've seen plenty of. And of course, Ford has taken over 9th place position when Smith and Pfeiffer have come in for their early scheduled pit stops.
And critically for Ford, he's now got a 3-second lead over Rob Gall. He's all by himself. He's got the track now with some space to the other cars, so he can start to focus on rifling off laps. And before
that battle, while that battle was going on, Gall was right there. So I think Ford's happy to, Ford in a Ford. That's good. It seems like that should be like a rule. I think he's going to be happy. He's running some hot laps now.
Certainly should be. This is the time where if he's got a crew chief, he's going to be telling him, buckle down, hit your marks, and just start putting in really fast laps because it's going to pay off later in the race. We're looking at Rob Gall sitting in 10th, and his BMW also has a little bit of space, although he's got about a second and a half back to Kyle Murphy. You can just catch glances of on your screen. There he is in the Kraken machine.
And Brian Barnes just looped his blue BMW into the wall right before the start-finish line. He's pulled it out. He's missed pit lane, so he's got a long way to go. He has, 4.3 miles, Sean, all the way around with a damaged front?
4.3, yes, sir, all the way around.
Oof. We're looking at the replay right now. That popsicle car is coming around the final corner, and the rear end comes around. Didn't hit it too hard, but enough that he's going to be kicking himself inside that cockpit.
Well, what's good is he's inside the pit window now. So, I mean, all these guys, if there's a mistake now, you're good. You can come in, get your free car, and you can still get home with one more stop from here.
As we see the replay one last time, now we switch back to live. We've got a bit of a battle farther down in the field. 19th position, Michael Lane trying to chase down Sam Boren. I believe these are both Fords. Yes, you can see on screen now. Coming down Rivage. He was a lot closer a few moments ago, but he is hassling Boren all over the place.
Another good battle. David Williams taking a position away from James Paulson, moving up to 12th spot. He's now working on Kyle Murphy, looking to take away 11th now. Williams looking really strong. He's got that McLaren fired up and spitting fire as we speak. And right now, Kyle Murphy having to contend, doesn't seem to have the ponies when they hit the power on these long sections of the track. Now they're getting ready to head through. They're heading through Friere now, on their way to Blanchimont.
Let's stay on this battle, but David Williams is part of the TNT Racing, if I'm not mistaken, and that is a teammate of James Wyckoff. Now, we mentioned...
I'm sorry, just to interrupt. Speaking of Wyckoff, he's come into the pit, so go ahead, Joe.
Oh, and it looks like we might have some action as Williams looks to the inside, but backs out of it before they get to the braking of the chicane. Although it looks like Murphy gives the apex a miss, and that is going to put him at a disadvantage. Now he's got Williams all over that rear spoiler. He stays defensive on the inside. Williams is going to have to pull it around the outside, or maybe he can get it over under. Now Murphy goes back to the racing line, and he just gets tipped. Can he hold on to it with a slide? Yes, he does. Great recovery from Murphy, and still holds on to the position. I wondered if that was going to happen. He came back to the line just a little late there, Sean.
Yeah, Williams came on the radio, gave him a little nod, said, "Hey, sorry, they're both fine. Everybody's good. Everybody survived that time."
Thankfully, we're going to look at the replay from onboard Williams, see what he saw, and you can see that car just kind of drifts back, and he didn't expect it. Braked a little too late, just barely tipped him. Nice little power slide in the Kraken machine.
In the Lacombe, Williams takes the position for Murphy. Murphy's still on the inside. Look, oh, Williams just really driving hard right now. Makes it out of that, and makes his way now down. Wow, Williams just on rails right now, looking really good. That McLaren is really just on point right now.
I wonder if Murphy is the cork in the bottle in this situation, because look, he's already got Hesbeck all over the back of his car. There's not really a passing place down into Pouan as they get to this downhill left-hander, very fast corner. Still right on top of that white roof in front of him. Maybe he can try and do something into Fangis. Can never get that name right. Not close enough, unfortunately. Going to stay on this battle a little bit longer. Oh, he's going to try and take a dive down into Curva Paul Frere, but not enough braking for him to try and sneak it in. Anyways, one thing that I was going to talk about earlier, let's stay on this battle still, Bill, but talking about Wyckoff, the teammate of TNT driver Williams, he's kind of, he's driving at not quite 100%, we understand. Has a few health problems.
Yeah, I think the main one for this, I mean, he has several. He has a serious one. He has a bad ticker, and we certainly wish him the best there. But in regards to this race, I don't think the ticker's causing a problem here. He has a sore braking foot, and he was wondering if he was going to be able even to get through this race. He came into the pits, and now he's disappeared. So I'm going to think that maybe the foot has given himself the boot.
Always, always with a good pun, Bill. It's sad to see though with him leave.
It is. Well, he was in the hunt for the points. He was doing really well.
Wyckoff has had some good races on both road and oval. Don't forget too.
Hey, we got a nice battle now shaping up between Huff and I'm sorry, it's not. It's a lapped car. I'm sorry. I thought we had. Never mind.
I'll tell you what battle is heating up. Brendan Hobart really putting the charge on Kevin Brown right now.
Absolutely.
Hobart is really coming strong. He was up the Kemmel Straight there. He was all over the back of him as they head into Lacombe. He couldn't quite pull it off, but right now Kevin is having to work really hard to just keep that space between him and Hobart right now.
Now, we mentioned drivers picking cars that are comfortable with. I've heard a couple pick for different reasons, Kevin Brown being one of them. He's driving the McLaren because his teammates are driving the McLaren and the Spa 24 Hours that iRacing, the official one, coming up soon. So he's preparing himself, and I've heard a couple drivers say that they're driving this car as a preparation for the upcoming 24-hour race. So Brown is not quite in his comfort zone, but he's currently sitting fifth though. Fifth overall in a field of 34 is not bad, especially for someone who's not a regular in this series.
Yeah, I think we're overrating that a bit. He likes it okay. He whines a lot, but he likes it okay.
It's the nature of the Kevin Brown beast, if you know Kevin, yeah. Hey, we have a nice battle. This lead battle now has turned into a three-way battle as Ryan Huff has really closed in.
Wow, look at that. We can't see it on screen. There we go. Ryan Huff in third. And that BMW chasing down the pink and white machine of Amjad Yaman. He's got just 7/10 up to Yaman. In fact, he's closer to Yaman than Yaman is to Lamberti.
Yeah, we'll see how patient now. Yaman's been really patient in second place, and Huff's been on a roll. We'll see how well Huff sits behind Amjad there.
Coming down the long Kemmel Straight, or up, we should say, as it's an uphill climb all the way to the top of the track here. A lot of elevation change, if you didn't notice by now, on this circuit.
Yeah, you will get a little seasick here if you just stare into that screen for too long. Dramamine might be an option.
Thankfully, these drivers don't have to deal with elevation sickness, because a friend of mine recently moved all the way from LA to here where I am in Colorado, and he's feeling the effects. So these drivers don't have to deal with being a higher elevation up in the mountains of the Ardennes, thankfully.
Might have explored that issue before he moved all his stuff there, huh?
Yeah, well, I guess having lived his whole life in California, he's used to sea level, didn't really think about it.
Oh, Huff
Meanwhile, this is heating up. 3/10 now between Huff and Yaman. Look at this.
Now, if I'm Amjad's crew chief, we got 2 hours, just under 2 hours to go. Let him by, Amjad. This guy has somewhere to go, and you want it to be not through you.
Now let's stay on this, but I see James Wyckoff has jumped in the interview room, so we'll have to jump back in case the battle starts to erupt. But I want to bring James in, talk to him a little bit, and is our battle erupting right now? Nope,
Oh.
Looks like it's off. Okay.
Yeah, come on. It's been erupting, though, for 40 minutes. Do what you got to do.
Yeah, let's bring James in and talk to him, see what went down, if maybe it was his ankle that ended his day. James, can you hear us? James, have you got us? Sounds like James might have taken off for just a moment, so we'll wait around just a bit to see if he hops back, maybe went to get a drink, get some ice for his foot maybe. In the meantime, now the gap between the cars is 0.6 and 0.5, although it's stretching a little bit between Lamberti and Yaman, now up to 0.7. And now it sounds like we have James here. James, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you. How are y'all today?
Oh, we're doing fine. The question is, how are you doing? We understand that your foot was bothering you.
Yeah, my foot is killing me. I'm on 2 hydrocodone, and it's hurting. But that isn't what took me out, unfortunately.
What took you out of the race? Because we didn't catch it, actually.
What took me out of the race was my hardware decided to go AWOL.
So
and I have no idea what it is.
So the iRacing equivalent of having an equipment failure, basically.
Let's stay with this a little while longer for the fans. I watched how many practice laps James put in. It must have been. You must have spent 6-7 hours practicing for this race.
Yeah, I think I put a total of 300 laps this week, and Spa, that's a pretty good chunk of time. I don't know exactly how many hours I put in.
James, it honestly always impresses me the amount of preparation you put into these races, and usually it seems to pay off because you're usually one of our front runners, so we're sad to see you out, but hopefully you'll be able to get back into it. And it looks like action was starting to unfold there with Amjad Yaman making a mistake with curve of Paul Frere, and now he's got the car of Ryan Huff all over the back of him. He's moving to the outside. He's going to be too wide coming through Blanchimont. Is either of them going to give? There's still quite a bit of race to go with 1 hour and 44 minutes left, and Amjad is the one that backs out. Sorry about that, James. We just had a bit of action we had to go to. But, yeah, we hope to see you back for the next round and hopefully feeling a little better.
Yeah, I should definitely be back. I have surgery on the 3rd, so I have a couple days stay in the hospital, and then I should be back for the next round.
We wish you the absolute best and a quick recovery from the surgery.
Well, thank you. I would like to thank TNT Racing and our sponsors, Allenberg Racing School and GTR Simulator, for their continued support. And TNT Racing has put out a new app on the iOS and Android store that everybody should check out. It's a cool, neat little app. For right now, it just has the Skippy and the F1 on there.
What's the name of the app? Do you know, James?
I believe if you just look up TNT Racing School, it'll pop right on up. And it's
Excellent
not
stuff.
expensive at all. It's pretty cheap. And there's an Ask TNT section, track guides, telemetry section, all sorts of neat stuff on there.
Sounds extremely helpful. So if you guys are out there and looking for new stuff to help you with racing, definitely go give that a look. Thanks for coming and talking to us, James.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm going to go check out the rest of the broadcast and put my foot up on some ice.
All right.
Hopefully go get it checked out pretty soon.
Feel better soon, man.
James Wyckoff from the Michael Waltrip School of Racing. Get those sponsor plugs in.
Always, of course.
Pence
Y'all
making a
know
move
me.
on Hayspec here. Pence taking that position away. Hayspec not giving up, man. He's all over the back of him.
This is for 11th and 12th position on track.
Yeah, this battle rages on. Kyle Murphy's been in this mix too. These three can't get away from each other right now. They're locked in and traveling together as a lot of other cars have separated from packs or just challenging the track. These three continue to be the battle right now on the track.
And slowly but surely, it looks like they're starting to leave Kyle Murphy a little bit behind. You can see they've stretched that gap behind him. If they start fighting, though, he's going to be right back on top of him. A little bit of a mistake as Pence goes wide through Pouan. That allows Hesbeck to get right up on the back of him. Just not close enough to try and outbreak him into Foundies.
Hayspec not giving up, though. He's still in it.
He is doing a great job of trying to rattle the cage of Pence, making sure that he has got to have an eye in those mirrors. Wow, Pence going very wide coming out of curve of Paul Frere, and that's going to give him just the little bit of breathing space that he needs.
Now you can stay on that battle, but just up to update, Amjad Yaman has come in for his first pit stop, so he's dropped out of pitting from 3rd position.
Wonder if the tires going away is finally coming to effect with Yaman, and that might have been what cost him the position and a bit of his pace there.
Yeah, see, Kyle Murphy's doing a really good job under braking. He just seems to keep getting back to these guys. They'll open it up a little bit, but he's really, really good under braking. Got that car turning really, really well. But that is still, like I said, that's been a pretty interesting battle. I would say Chris Pence is exploring the limitations of that McLaren on every lap.
There's no F1 stewards to give them a warning here, although they do supposedly have a couple live stewards out there. So we'll have to see if they're keeping an eye on drivers who are really abusing those limits. Pence was nice and tidy up through Eau Rouge as we ride on board with him, looking back at Alan Hesbeck in the roof.
Amjad Yaman still in the pits. Now, we talk about pit stops. Well, go ahead and interrupt if there's something that's exciting happened there. You know, we haven't talked about how these pit stops actually work. You cannot take fuel and gas. Well, you can take it in the pit stop, but not simultaneously, right, Joe?
Yes, in all the GT3 cars, you can either choose fuel or tires. You can't do both at once. And I believe it's fuel first and then tires, if I'm not mistaken.
You know, there's a lot of dumb rules in racing, but that's a really good rule. That really makes it exciting.
And a lot of drivers were asking for it on iRacing. They were very happy when it came into play because it definitely makes you rethink strategy, and it makes the question of whether or not to get tires very interesting. Meanwhile, let's jump up to the front because Ryan Huff is only half a second back from Lamberti. Now, where did Huff qualify, actually?
He qualified 5th.
So he's been working his way through. He must have really good race pace. They do a bit of an interesting qualifying. They call it QCon, and it's not just a single lap pace. These guys have to do, 5 laps around here?
Yeah, the con is for consistency, and I think it's 5 laps with a very small incident limit. Because one of the things what they wanted to do was they wanted drivers not to spend 7 hours working on hot lapping. They wanted drivers to be able to spend their practice time rewardingly and to get a good race setup.
Absolutely, and so Huff isn't just, he didn't jump into this thing without a good qualifying setup and then suddenly has a good race setup. He probably had to have a decent race setup to get a good qualifying in here, but somehow he's just performing a lot better than those around him and is now hassling the leader. And I mean, he's not falling back. Even though he's not right on top of him, he's certainly making sure that any small mistake from Lamberti is going to cost him dearly.
Now, you can stay on that battle, but I'm going to give you 2 names that we've talked about already, and that's Amjad Yaman and Smith, Michael Smith. They are 23 seconds apart. Why am I bringing them up? They're running 27th and 28th position right now, but they're the only 2 guys that I see that made their first pit stop. So the leader of all the guys who have stopped is Amjad Yaman, with Smith running second, but way back, 23 seconds back. Now, Pfeiffer, who we talked about earlier, he's another 15 seconds back. I don't think it was a scheduled pit stop for him. I think he had some issues.
Well, I got to tell you, I think you'll start to see some McLarens come in here pretty soon. I'm thinking maybe about 3 or 4 more laps, and I think that's where we're going to start to see a windfall. I think some of these guys will probably be on, use that longer, started with full tank and run out that first stint full and then short the last 2.
Well, boys, remember, Yaman's out there now racing all by himself. He has a nice, clean, big 4.3 miles of track. Well, he's got about half a mile of no traffic in front of him, and while we're close battle for the lead, he's running on new tires, while these 2 guys up front are running first and second are on old tires. So if Amjad can put on any type of laps with that new car, he'll cycle into the lead, which might be the best way to get around these guys, because he certainly was having a hard time doing it on the track.
Well, he's not completely clear. He's got about 1.5 seconds up to Jason Pitts ahead of him, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be pacing better than Pitts. So he's going to get slowed down in a moment unless Pitts decides to play really nice and just pull over. But I can't see Jason just rolling over. He's going to probably let him through because he knows he's on alternate strategy here.
Well, maybe he does and maybe he doesn't. That's one of the things. Jason's looking in his mirrors and saying, well, I'm running 26, you're running 27, this is a battle for position. Well, really it's not.
Yeah, Jason hasn't taken his stop yet, so it's not, even though it is for position on track, it's not for position on strategy. So he doesn't have reason to fight too hard, and that's the big question mark that Amjad Yaman has to ask, as now he's closing up within 0.5 second here, so he's going to have to deal with this soon and see, is he going to fight me, is he going to slow me down, what's going to happen here?
See, but again, I give Pitts the benefit of the doubt. Nobody's telling Pitts. For all he knows, Yaman had a spin. He doesn't know Yaman took that actual pit stop. So that's where I'm going to give Pitts the benefit of the doubt and be a little. Oh boy, this battle for the lead.
Whoa!
I think we might have. Oh,
and sorry, Jason Pitts almost spun and tried to come into the pits there. So it all worked out very well in favor of Amjad Yaman.
Oh, and this lead battle is Huff took a peek on the outside. Couldn't get it done. It's going to happen soon.
Yeah, Lamberti did a really good job of playing defense there, Bill.
He's now to within 0.2 seconds. He's right on top of him. And this is coming out of Curva Paul Frere down to Blanchimont. Draft is going to pull him in. Remember, the BMW is not known for its top-end speed, so he's going to really need this. If he can just stay behind him through Blanchimont, try to outbrake him down into the bus stop. He doesn't look like he's close enough, sadly, though.
No, Lamberti's making him work for it. He's making him... Huff's had to try to do it on the outside of these. There's. I thought he made a mistake, but now our leader's in the pits.
Oh, and Huff does make a mistake. He's into the wall. Huff spins it coming out of the bus stop chicane, and he's got to wait for cars to come through and lose even more time. Dives across the track. We're going to look at the replay. This was just the moment that he needed where he could put in a good lap, and he put a wheel off into the AstroTurf, and that sent him spinning.
He hurt that car bad too, boys. That car, the front end is gone.
Now the good news is this is probably about the time that he needs to pit. So he's gonna come in, he'll get his spare car, but that's a lot of time lost. He probably lost close to 15 seconds on that lap.
Yeah, he's got to go all the way around this track too with that car in its present condition. So this is going to take a while.
Well, the good news is that he hit square on, so I don't think he probably damaged any of his suspension or anything, but definitely some aero damage, as you can see there. Kevin Brown approaching him up the Kimmel Straight.
Now, guys, what we want to watch for here while we're watching that is Amjad Yaman, because he's our virtual leader for the guys who have pitted so far, but we have Lamberti in the pits right now, so this could be one of those times where the pass is made in the pit lane or on the track while the other driver's in the pit lane.
Well, Amjad already coming through the chicane right now, so he's getting ready to go across start-finish line right here.
And Lamberti still lingers in the pits.
Meanwhile, on screen, Kevin Brown is trying very hard to get around Huff. Now he's able to get by. He was really holding him up down through turn 9. I think Huff finally knew it was time to give up the ghost. Meanwhile, let's jump to Amjad Yaman. Where is our leader, Lamberti?
Lamberti's still sitting in the pits.
And he's cleared him.
Now Lamberti's coming out. So, they came in. Yaman was right behind them, 4, 5, 6 car lengths behind. And that's why he is the doctor of pits topology. He's done it again.
Amjad Yaman, who is currently scored in 14th, is effectively our leader once all the pit stops go through, which should be soon. With, let's see, we've gone about almost 50 minutes into this race. And these cars can do roughly, we believe, 60 to 62.
So that makes Kevin Brown our actual leader, although he still needs to make a pit. Hobart running 3rd and Bennett running 4th. But we think when this all settles down, we're going to have Amjad way out in front by, we'll see if I can get you a distance here.
Tell you what, if Kevin could just pull off a really nifty pit stop, he was about 10 seconds behind Amjad. If he could make up some time in the pits, he's got a chance to get a little closer, gain a little ground. But yeah, Kevin's going to cycle around and be our leader now. Kevin Brown at the top of the board. Probably got another lap or two in that machine before he thinks about coming in.
There you can see him in the monster GSRC McLaren. Heading down the hill towards Eau Rouge. Going to click off lap 24, I believe this is. No, I guess it's lap 23, actually. So, car to keep an eye on at this point, Amjad Yaman and Tony Lamberti. Yaman was chasing down Lamberti, or at least holding him in check for quite a few laps. The question is, was the draft helping him? Is Lamberti actually faster? Is he going to start to gun him down?
Looking at Lamberto, trying to find the distance between the two. They're behind each other on the track, and Yaman has 9-second lead on Lamberti.
So a fair distance. It's going to take that's a significant amount of time difference.
See,
I wonder if Yaman has switched up to maybe split this into even.
We don't know how much fuel he took. I mean, let's take it. Yaman obviously came in before he needed to, so he couldn't put in as much fuel. Let's say Lamberti ran the car dry. He filled it all the way up. So it's possible that's where the difference is. We really won't know till that final pit stop. It could, Amjad's car could not be as full as Lamberti's is right now, so the difference could be made up on the next stop. Who knows?
Lamberti sitting in 12th as the cars that are still out there continue to work their way towards their first stop. Drivers yet to stop: Kevin Brown, Brian Bennett, David Williams, Chris Pence, Alan Hesbeck, Kyle Murphy, Mark Jabinski, James Paulson, Jack Hinchman, quite a few. And then Mike Taylor sitting in 10th, I'm seeing. Last car not to pit.
Ooh, Kevin Brown having a close one there as he came off of Blanchimont and down into the chicane. He got all the way out there on Blanchimont. Don't think he got a time penalty, though. Don't see him slowing down. He hasn't headed in for the pits yet. Kevin Brown still our leader as he heads back across the line.
Now, I'm assuming that Ryan Huff came in, yes, and he's got a fresh car now.
Right.
Huff sitting in 18th. But what's the difference between himself and Lamberti? It's quite a few cars difference.
Yeah, quite a ways back. It's Trozine has yet to pit, is between them. Reynolds, Blake Reynolds. Reynolds has probably made that pit stop.
Camera still staying on Kevin Brown. Obviously, our director liking to get... There we go. We're on Blake Reynolds now in 14th.
I have Reynolds might be running third of the cars who pitted. I can verify that he made a stop because he was running up near the top.
I think you're correct. I think he was one of the early stoppers. The number 76 machine, Texas driver. Oh, let's switch over to Ford and Otis having a battle. This is for 19th and 20th. Ford currently on top, though. Looks like we might have just missed the battle, unfortunately.
And we're correct. Reynolds has pitted. So for the cars that have come in now that have pitted it, it's Yaman, Lamberti, and I'm going to say that Blake Reynolds is running third overall of the pitted cars. Of course, we haven't seen the front guys come in. Huff is behind those guys.
Some of these guys are certainly trying to stretch this first stint as absolutely long as they can go as we continue to watch Otis and McLaren. Looks like Ford actually might be stretching away from him. Actually, yeah, that gap is already up to a second between Ford and Otis now as they head through the chicane. Ford, we've watched go through a number of adventures already this race, but has been handling his own, that's for sure. So we're hearing that Pence, Taylor, and Hinchman have come in for their stops, currently sitting in their stall. There you see them. And looks like that is Taylor taking off.
Pence is away also. He's back under power, getting ready to hit the loud pedal. He's across the line there. Pit exit. He is out. Chris Pence back in this race. He broke up that little battle he was having there with Kyle Murphy and Hasebeck and decided to come on in.
And in the meantime, as we watch this, Kevin Brown has continued on yet another lap. So has Brian Bennett as well. In fact, he's quite a ways ahead of Bennett, about 20 seconds. So Brown is currently sitting pretty in regards to him.
Okay,
go ahead.
We got an hour and 27 left to go. So he's gone. Oh, do my math. What is that? Close to an hour. Close to an hour in the race. Got to be coming in pretty soon. What this is going to lay out for him, and I'm going to tip this is a secret formula winning here. He plans to go long, and then really short stop the last one, go without tires, and see if he can do it that way.
Be interesting if he can push with a light car with old tires and see how fast he can go. He's been leading a number of laps here, but he has yet to make his stop. In fact, I'm seeing actually only led 3 laps maybe. The laps are so long here, it's felt like so much more than that.
Yeah, no, that's 3, but I think if you ask Kevin right now, he'd be pretty happy with where he's at. He's managed to keep the car on track through this opening stint, and that's so important. If you can just start with that opening stint without any trouble, it really sets the tone for your race. He's off to a great start.
Maybe we can get our director, give a little screen time to the guy running in third. Of course, he hasn't made his pit stop yet. David Williams, we've known him. He's certainly good on the ovals. It's nice to see him here. Retired Marine, 20 years, running in third right now.
He had a bit of a moment there coming through Fanyes, went a little wide. Car looked a little unstable.
That's what happens when we spotlight these guys. It's they say put the camera on me. Well, It's the kiss of death when we do that.
I was going to say, Richard Losber always tells us, don't put the camera on me, which of course means that we're going to put the camera on him.
I don't know. Countless times, Joe, we put the camera on guy for 10 seconds, and that's the one time he spins. Here comes Brown.
Such is the case. So Kevin Brown now heading into the pit lane. Brian Bennett, next car back, who has yet to pit, has a long ways to go. In fact, he's only just getting into the chicane now. Let's see if Bennett pits as well. Nope. Same thing with Williams. Williams continues on. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was going to say I'm following Amjad Yaman. He's now up through Friere right now into Blanchimont.
And this is something GSR... Oh, Brown spins in the pits. He spinned it in the loop of the pits. I don't know if it hurt it too much. He scraped the inside wall. Kevin.
Wow, that was kind of unusual, actually. We're going to look at the replay. You can barely see him over the wall. There he is. That was
like he was
bizarre.
Driving through a jack-in-the-box and cut the corner there. Pay attention.
Well, we talked about how important getting down that pit lane is and, not making any mistakes because it is such a long trip down through there. And looks like Amjad Yaman's going to take back over the lead of this race here pretty quickly as soon as these other cars in front of him come into the pits because Kevin's still sitting in there, and here comes Amjad.
Right, and this is something that GSRC prides itself on, and you will not see this on like the network TVs, except Formula One. We follow these pit stops here, and here's your leader right here coming through.
Yep, Yaman is now up the Kemmel Straight, and now he is up to 6th position overall, still trying to wait for Paulson, Jabinski, Hesbeck, Bennett, and Williams to take their stops. Now, interestingly, Bennett, was it Bennett I saw that didn't have a hood on him?
Yes, I'm zooming in on him right now. It's a very unaerodynamic car. There is no hood there.
It's got a good number, though.
I take it you were on the number 71 there, Sean?
I certainly do, yes. Big fan of Brian Bennett today.
You usually run it with a hood, though, I think, probably most of the time.
I prefer my car with a hood, yes, thank you.
That's got to be refreshing, I would think, to drive the car that way. I bet he's getting good airflow through the cockpit.
Well, if only that was for real life, though. But unfortunately, it's just doing him damage and slowing him down aerodynamically at this point.
No, I have an app that when the hood comes off, these fans blow actually on me on my Sin Rig. It was $400. I've never got to use it, so I should probably sell it to him.
Well, now he's going to be able to get one on his car because he is coming into the pits. So Bennett is in and is going to hand over the lead to David Williams.
Yeah, David Williams, who's just been charging through this opening stint. He's going to keep that McLaren out there for just every last drop. We're working lap 27 now. Working lap 28. David now finds himself up in first and really at one point was all the way back there in 16th place and then just slowly worked his way up through the field and continued that battle with Hasebeck and Jabinski and again finds himself now the leader of this race. But he's going to be coming in soon, guys. That car will not stay out there. I don't think it'll stay out there for 32 laps.
And it's always a risk that you have to ask yourself, are you willing to take in a long race like this? Because if you run out of fuel, it's not like an oval, Sean, where you can just maybe coast back to the pits. You're going to come to a halt at some point unless you are right next to the pit entry.
Yeah, you're stuck out there, and that's it. That's your relief. Take your tow and take your lumps. So you've got to be on point with your mileage calculations. I'm sure David's put in enough practice. He's got the numbers worked out, knows what he's doing, but he finds himself in a really good position right now. Brian Bennett sits about seven seconds behind him. So, but right now I think David is in control. Car looks good. He has managed to stay out of trouble with any damage with all the fighting he's been doing. Car's in good shape, so he's not going to really look like he needs any repair. Just needs a clean pit stop to keep it there.
Now, we haven't been watching the leaders very closely, so I don't know if this is from traffic or if this is raw pace, but Amjad Yaman now only has a 9-second lead over Lamberti. Remember, it was about 10 seconds a little bit ago, probably about 5 or 6 laps ago when they came out of their pit stops.
Well, Lamberti has 10-minute fresher tires, so maybe that has a lot to do with it, or little to do with it. I think Lamberti just may be actually faster than Amjad was. Again, here comes Williams into the pits. We really didn't know what Amjad Yaman had because it could have been draft related.
Exactly.
And here comes Hasebeck into the pits, so I think our last guy will be Jubinski.
And Jubinski's, I was going to say, I don't hope he doesn't stay out. That would be impressive.
There you go. So with Mark Gugu Gajimski, I had this line. I had a middle. Gugu Jubinski. I can't do it. Never mind.
I was going to say, nice try on the Beatles reference.
It's too hard to say. It doesn't work.
Well, another thing from the 60s, the doctor, Mr. Amjad Yaman, is definitely coming through to retake the lead this time by. And it sounds like we got Huff on Brown a little bit farther down. This is going to be for 9th and 10th. Or no, 8th and 9th, actually. Huff is a little ways back. He's about a second back from Brown.
You can stay on that battle. I'll just update you. Alan Haseback put it in the wall in pit lanes similar to like Kevin Brown did, except on the outside wall. These guys clearly don't know how to drive through a fast food line.
I wonder if what's happening, if maybe there's a small bump on that corner, and you've probably got your foot to the floor with the limiter on, and maybe when the car hits the bump, it just lifts the wheel and causes you to spin.
It was the exact same place.
Yeah, maybe that's what's happening. I don't know. We'll have to talk to the drivers after the race. Brian Huff, though, remember he had problems just as the leader was pitting Lamberti at that time, and spun it into the wall and is trying to make a recovery drive. So he's probably got slightly better pace than Brown. It's now down to 7/10 instead of a second. Up over the hill, trying to get himself a run. He's going to have the draft down to 6/10, down to 5/10. Huff is closing in. Brown is going to be able to hold him off down into Lecum. Just about holding at about half a second now. The McLaren of Brown there on your screen. The black, blue, and red car. And then we're on board with Ryan Huff and a red, white, and blue BMW closes in down into Rivage, getting right up in the mirrors of that car.
We'll be able to do maybe a top 10 rundown here once our timing and scoring updates, because I think everybody's come in now. Things are going to settle down. We can give the fans an idea of where everybody sits here pretty soon.
Yep, I believe now that Amjad Yaman has cycled back into first, we're going to get a good feeling, although we could, let's see. No, we should have a break, a long enough break where nobody should be pitting, unless someone's doing a 3-stopper, which would be interesting.
Just got to wait for Williams and Hasebeck and Jubinski to cycle around once, so they'll cycle into our timing and scoring, and then we can do this here.
On my screen,
there we go.
They have. I was going to say they've cycled through since I've got mine is live updated. Let's go through the top 10 real quick. Amjad Yaman is our leader now after the pit stops. Has done a fantastic job. Tony Lamberti, as we continue to watch this battle on screen between Brown and Huff. In fact, I think Huff might have it down into the bus stop. Is Brown going to defend? Nope, just a little bit of a look. So, Blake Reynolds holds the 3rd place, and then Brendan Hobart in 4th. Kevin Brown, who are watching, sitting in 5th, trying to hold off Ryan Huff, who's trying to make a recovery drive out of 6th. Michael Smith is just a little ways behind them in 7th, and it's Larry Ford in 8th, Ryan Otis in 9th, and Rob Gall rounds out the top 10.
Now Smith, who's sitting in 7th position, remember, he made that very early pit stop. He was like the first guy to come in, and he was in that battle with Larry Ford. In fact, I'm watching Smith right now, and he loops it, spins it around, and another car behind him loops it. I swear there's oil on the track if I didn't know better. Ford loops it and Smith loops it. Unrelated incidents in the exact same spot, 2 seconds apart.
Spinning in sympathy, we're going to look at the replay. In the meantime, Kevin Brown was passed by Huff, so we're on Smith now.
I jinxed him again, but we were talking about Smith and Ford being in that battle, and go ahead, you can see the replay.
That was Smith turning himself around, and now you can see diving across the track was Ford. It's lucky that nobody hit him, and Smith actually has a challenge from couldn't see quite who that was.
Yeah, Bennett and Gall did a really good job of avoiding Smith sitting in the middle of the track there, too. They had to make an evasive move. Those two have been battling each other here for a few laps.
That was Ryan Otis, who Smith was battling with, that's still battling with right now, as Otis is all over the back of him.
And that beautiful black and blue, purple, I don't know what color it is. Boy, it's fluorescent. So, Otis was in that chain earlier that we saw, that long chain where Ford and Pfeiffer and Smith were up in the front. Well, they're back together again. Now there's Otis and Smith, and Ford, of course, spun. Smith and Ford had a little discussion earlier in the race. I wonder if they can blame that on each other.
There's no sticky note of approval, unfortunately. Ryan Otis is in a red and blue car, you can see on your screen there.
Now, Otis is on a different pit strategy, guys, because he had trouble early. Had to bring that car in back in the early stages of the race. I think it was around lap 12 or 13. Had damage, had to get that repaired and get back out here. So Otis not on the same strategy, but still making ground through the field. After that trouble start in third, he finds himself now up in ninth place.
Now, to tell you about the pace that is happening up at the front of the field, we've been following Yaman and Lamberti. There's still about 9 seconds between them, roughly. Blake Reynolds is a whole 16 seconds back from Lamberti. That is the third place car, Reynolds. So I'd have to say that Lamberti and Yaman are cooking it right now.
Yeah, Reynolds driving that Ford, I thought was somebody to keep an eye on. But yeah, Yaman and Lamberti are the cream of the crop so far.
Now, I don't know if we mentioned it, but Huff has taken a position away from Brown. Huff now up to fifth place. Kevin Brown now in sixth, and as they head off the Kemmel and into Lacombe right now.
Sean,
mention.
If there's somebody to keep an eye on, that he's 38 seconds behind Yaman. If there's somebody who can make up 38 seconds over the next hour and a half, it would be Huff, because he was flying before he had his incident. So he's somebody certainly to keep an eye on. Hobart is next on his hit list, and then he gets about 12 more seconds up to the Ford of Blake Reynolds.
Meanwhile, on our screen, we're watching a battle between a number of cars here. We've got Smith at the lead of a train of Otis, Gall, and Bennett, all trying to see what they can do with this BMW up at the front of the line. You can see them just stacking up here, all nose to tail around Ravage. We got a truly train, guys.
And we don't need to brake, but Jason Pitts looped his car and put it in the wall. He's back out on there.
We're on board with Bennett, watching down this train down into Pouan.
And Bennett being really careful. He's watching these guys. He wants to take advantage of any missed opportunities by them. He is really just taking it all in right now.
That's Gall, you can see in the BMW just ahead, who is very close to Ryan Otis, but he backs out before the braking for Curva Paul Frere. Looks like nobody's really willing to try and stick their nose out in this point in case they make themselves vulnerable to the car behind. Otis is still watching Michael Smith, seeing where his strengths and weaknesses are, seeing if he could sneak a pass in. He takes a little bit of a look down to Blanchimont, but slips back into line. Now we're on board with Otis, heading towards the chicane. Oh, and look at this behind him. We got a battle between Gall and Bennett. Bennett was trying to sneak up the outside.
He tried, couldn't quite pull it off.
Still, Otis closing in. Look into the inside, down into the source. Breaks early. Smith goes defensive. Otis trying the over-under, but misses the apex. And that is going to lose him lots of time now as Smith starts to streak away down the hill.
And here comes Larry Ford in that GT. He is trying to get himself into the picture here as they head on to Eau Rouge. Through Radion and up the Kemmel Straight. Watch out for Larry Ford. Here he comes, guys.
Actually, watch out for Bennett. He is closing in on Gall by a steep rate. Looks like he's got the draft now. Is he going to look to the inside? Gall just holding the middle of the track, and instead Bennett decides to back out of it before they hit the braking zone. So fascinating battle here happening, and this is all for 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th between these guys, and 11th as well if you count Ford. And now look at this. We've got Chris Pence as well. Now we've got a 6-car train. Boy, pace is certainly not looking good for Smith right now. I mean, he's holding them off, but these guys are just stacking up behind him. So it sounds like we're hearing that Smith is actually potentially 2 seconds slower than these guys behind him. Surprised nobody's been making more eager moves in this group here, Sean.
Yeah, you know what? I'm surprised too, but you know what? Some of these battles continue to rage on. Some guys just can't get away from each other even after the pit stops. Carl Burke still battling with Kyle Murphy and James Paulson right now. Burke takes it off the track.
I've been watching that battle too, but what a battle going on. This is for 16th, 17th, and 18th. You know, Burke had his 40th high school reunion that he didn't go to. He wants to tell his wife, Cindy, how much he loves her and thank you for letting me race this race. I'd go to my 40th reunion, but there's a dedicated driver. So, Cindy, he loves you. Currently running in 15th position, but maybe not for long if Kyle Murphy has something to say about it.
There we see Burke on the screen. Whoa!
Paulison going wide. And closing in, Jack Hinchman back there is in that battle too.
So the number of cars really nose to tail, giving us some good battles on track. There's that cracking machine of Murphy, who we've seen a few times get into some action. Held a great slide through this corner. Lasorsi looks to the inside now on Burke. Can't quite get his nose in there.
Matt Gelder in 33rd position just blew an engine. So, sorry, Matt.
And we had some action between Michael Lane and Jack Hinchman as well, going through La Source. But let's stick with this with Murphy. Oh, wow! Paulison all over the back of him, not afraid to get that car right under the spoiler. In fact, it might have hurt his momentum there. Kraken Machine goes defensive. Tries to hold him off. Is this going to hurt his entry into the corner? Not too badly. Paulson just holding back, seeing what he can do. Now plunging back downhill into Rivage. They've hit the top of the course. Ears popping as the elevation gives way.
Now Michael Lane just kind of moved over for Hinchman, let Hinchman go. Hinchman's now throwing his car up into that mix now.
Clearly he has some pace here in the middle of the race. He's sitting in 18th. Excuse me, no, Paulson is sitting in 18th, I'm seeing. So my timing and scoring is missing a couple cars, it seems.
Carl Burke still leading the way though, man. He's got a strong machine and he's running, you know, he's very focused on his trip around here, and so far it paid off well for him. We've seen him get offline a couple of times, but still manages to get on the power just right and avoid trouble.
Let's go to Rob Gall. He's putting an attack on Ryan Otis right now. This is down to the chicane. Outbreaks him and slots right into line. Now this is another one where we've seen a huge train going on behind Michael Smith. And whoa, a bit of a wobble back there in the background with Ford. That's going to put him at a disadvantage as Chris Pence now looks to the inside, down into La Source. He's going to try and outbreak him, just manages to sneak it in. Woo! Tight spaces there, but they both come out alive, but they're still side by side as they drag down the hill. These guys are not going to want to stay this way as they head towards Eau Rouge.
This isn't going to work. This is not going to work, boys.
It's a game of chicken. Whoa! And they're still holding on to it. Nobody's giving way. Stayed side by side through all of it. David Williams, in the meantime, holding behind both. And it looks like Pence is going to come out on top. But this has allowed David Williams to really close in. He's going to be able to get Ford, but he's not going to be able to get Pence.
It worked.
Whew, that is some
And
bravery.
what a view out of the windshield of David Williams, guys.
Yeah, tell you what, I'm surprised he stayed as close as he did. I probably would have been backing out of that, figuring these guys would take each other out. We're going to look at the replay of that incredible move by both cars side by side here from David Williams' view. Shades of Fernando Alonso and Mark Webber.
Carl Burke is off the track, in the dirt, in the grass, losing both those positions to Murphy and Paulson.
And there goes the cork.
Sorry, Cindy.
He's back under power though. He didn't wreck the car, didn't get any of the fence. Just did a lot of lawn maintenance right there. Took a break to trim the hedges.
We're gonna watch the replay now as we switch back to Burke. We were on board with Williams all the way up the Kimmel Straight there. Looks like he was under attack. I'm not sure who that is. The VIP machine didn't really make a move into there. Now as we head through Lacombe, up over Malmedy, and there he goes off into the kitty litter. Just a scary moment. Brings it back on. Loses about 3 positions. Good heads up from everybody behind to just give him enough room to get back on. So not too much damage to Carl Berg, except for maybe just a bruised ego.
And we lost, see who this is here. We got off track with Brian Bennett in that battle. Went a little while. No, it wasn't Brian Bennett. It was Ryan Otis in the red and blue car. I know what car that was. Got a little loose just coming out of the chicane, going across the start-finish line. Lost some position in this crazy battle. And Smith misses an apex now. And now we get a pass. Finally, Rob Gall gets around Smith. And now Smith is being challenged back behind him by Brian Bennett, looking to get around. Smith is playing defensive. I think Smith is going to hold it off. I'm going to tell these guys, if I'm the crew chief, Smith pitted early. He's got to come in soon. So just relax, guys. He'll be coming in pretty soon, and you won't have to worry about this.
Smith didn't miss the apex. I think it was all the way over in Brussels.
Yeah, he was. But he's not done yet, though.
But he backs out of it, and that's going to give the advantage to Bennett, who goes up the outside of both of them. He's on the outside of both, and he outbrakes him. 2 in one corner, and there's action behind as well, as we've got Pence and Otis battling. And Pence comes out on top there. It's not over up in front. It looks like there was a bit of a challenge from Gall back on Bennett. Wow, what a move by Bennett.
Smith lost momentum behind Gall, and then Bennett just flew by him.
I don't think he lifted a moment. There was no hesitation. We're going to look at that replay. Coming down, there you see Bennett just duck out as soon as he saw him lift. Had the speed, and goes past both of them as we ride on board.
You know, the way that Smith closed up on Gall, and the way Gall slowed down, I wonder maybe if Gall didn't miss the shift there, because Bennett just flew by him. Man, that was something.
And that battle is actually still going on. We're going to watch that replay one more time. It's not super intense right now, but Gall did close back up on Bennett. He wants that spot back. I think he caught Gall by complete surprise, and now he's thinking, I want that back. Wait. That was my spot.
And Bennett just seems to be doing all the right, making all the right moves right now. Car looks good, and as they head here into the chicane, let's see here. Is this going to be a time for a move by Gall?
He's too far back this time. We're riding on board with Bennett, just looking over the roof. Oh, wow, big mistake from Gall. Huge wobble, and that's going to allow Smith to get right up on the back of him. Smith is also closely followed by Chris Pence down into Lesorth. Smith looking excellent on the brakes. This time he makes the apex.
And talk about Chris Pence, a guy not giving up during this race. Pence started 24th, finds himself in 10th right now, and just has been charging hard, been involved in several battles throughout this race, and again, in the top 10 right now.
Hey guys, something we want to cover here, because I've been watching it. We talked about Huff, and he's made up this 2-second difference on Hobart. It's not going to be long before Huff makes a pass here. And not far behind him is Kevin Brown trying to stay with him. But Huff Smith is on a mission.
Sorry, Michael Smith having to take a slow down there, and he let Pence go right on by him, but he got penalized there coming through Radion.
That's that slowdown that we talked about earlier, Sean, just being absolutely punishing around here, because the Kimmel Straight is all about speed all the way up that hill, carrying the momentum, and if you cut the corner, you're in serious trouble.
Yeah, and he did there, got the car all the way off, and they penalized him for it, and he loses 2 positions there for that.
Let's jump back to Ryan Huff now, only 3 tenths behind Hobart. This is for 4th position And remember, Huff had a spin right before his first pit stop, just as he was about to inherit the lead. So he is effectively on a recovery drive.
It will not be long. Huff has really been running him down. About 0.2 a lap here.
And Huff was very steady under braking.
Catching him again is easy. Passing him is a little harder, but
just giving the apex a miss, going around La Source. Doesn't hurt him too badly as they plunge down the hill.
now these guys are running 34 seconds behind our leader. The lead, Yaman has picked it up a little bit, opened it up to 11.5 seconds on Lamberti. Reynolds is still holding pace at 24 back, so Reynolds has been able to keep pace with Yaman.
Huff had a fantastic run.
Yeah, here it
Let's
comes.
jump back to Huff once more. Taking a look. He's a little far back. Yep, he decided it wasn't quite secure enough. I think Huff, after that mistake, is thinking safety here. Not going to try and attempt anything crazy.
Now, I don't believe Huff is one of those drivers that are running for points. Reynolds is, though.
Whoa! Oh. Was there contact there?
I felt like a little tap.
He was very, very close to the Ford of Hobart. That was through Ravage.
Now, Carl Burke had gotten off pace, guys. He's coming in the pits. He just made the call.
So, Burke heading in. One of our first cars to head in for a second stop. We've got 60 minutes left, so obviously he's playing a reverse strategy.
Yeah, and the car not handling real well for him right now. I haven't been following him here the whole way. I don't know if he got off again or not, but the car not looking too good right now. He doesn't seem to be up to full speed. Again, I don't see any damage, but he, like I said, came on the radio, said he was coming in, so we'll see here in a moment. He's still got a little ways to go.
We sit on the dashboard of Ryan Huff, still chasing down Brendan Hobart for that fourth position. Flying through Blanchimont. Now heading towards the braking of the chicane. Reaching the Grand Prix pits here. Oh! And Huff decides to come in.
Well, that's one way to get around him. But like we said, we're in the window now. We can go the distance from here, so...
Meanwhile, there we switch to Kevin Brown, who stays out. He ran a long first stint. Is he going to go all the way long on his second stint? We'll have to wait and see.
Yes, he is.
Oh, I don't know. We'll see.
So you have two contrasting strategies here. With Huff coming in, Huff and Brown were running next to each other in that would be fourth and fifth. So you're going to see Huff as our first pitter, and Brown's probably going to be our last pitter.
Meanwhile, on screen, David Williams trying to hunt down Michael Smith. They're heading into the braking zone. Smith just holding onto his line. He kind of drifted across there just a little bit. These guys battling very hard for 10th and 11th position. Excuse me, 11th and 12th position.
Huff made it around the jack-in-the-box turn fine.
Are we just going to give that a new name, that turn?
I don't know. Do they have jack-in-the-box across? Do they have jack-in-the-box in Colorado, Joe?
We don't, actually.
Okay, well, then we can't use that.
Well, in the meantime, we're still watching Williams all over the back of Smith. Up the hill, gets a really good run. This is going to be a slam dunk. Pulls off to the side. Smith takes the inside, but it's almost elementary at this point. And Williams is well clear by the time they get to the braking. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you execute a pass out of Eau Rouge. So with Williams now up into... Oh, now we're seeing him in 10th. So now my timing and scoring is matching what you're seeing on screen. So David Williams working himself up into the top 10. However, some drivers have started to pit.
Hayspec working on Michael Smith right now. This has been raging on here for a couple of laps. Hayspec looking to the, not quite. Tough part of the track to pull off a move there at Buon. Don't want to do it there, but yeah, Hayspec really working hard right now to get around Michael Smith.
That roof is the car of Alan Hesbeck that we were talking about, and you can see him really just right in the tires. And Smith is pulling some interesting moves in defense here. He's staying to the inside, and then he comes back to the line. It's a little dangerous there, Sean.
Yeah, it is. That could turn you around. But Michael Smith just coming on the radio says he's coming in the pits right now, and Alan thanking him for the heads up.
So he will be out of his way any moment now. Pit entry here up on the right. Definitely one that you got to practice, try and maximize here.
A lot of guys starting to make the call. They're coming in. Ryan Otis, another one of them.
Now Huff is out. He's the leader of all the cars that pitted, currently running in 23rd position.
Also, for those wondering, Amjad Yaman is still our overall leader. And my timing and scoring doesn't look like it's quite correct here, because I think he's...
You're right, Joe, but what's interesting about Yaman is he's putting distance between him and Lamberti, but Blake Reynolds in the Ford has been able to knock off a couple seconds now. It was up to 25 seconds. Reynolds has it almost under 23. So, with an hour left to go, 23 seconds is a long way, but he's got the pace.
Meanwhile, we're watching a great battle here. We've got Ryan Huff on screen.
Oh, yeah, those guys, they got to get out of the way. Huff's in a hurry.
And this is not exactly for position. They're off strategy, but he just went by Fraser Marshall, held him up a little bit through La Source, and he's trying to chase down Sam Boren now, and just absolutely leaves Marshall in the dust, heading up a Rouge.
Man, what a run there by Huff. That was a pretty smooth trip through, even with the traffic.
Yeah, here comes Sam Bourne is next. Guys, this guy's going somewhere. We got to let him through. Oh,
and he's getting held up. He's got to make quick work if he wants to make this strategy effective.
Again, Bourne really has no way to know that Huff has had 2 pit stops, other than the fact that he's driving like a maniac behind him.
Well, these guys race together enough. I think they're pretty aware of who's the hot shoe out here. However, we're now into the final hour of the race, so we've long since passed the halfway mark. These guys are going to have to start thinking if it's worth losing a little bit of time to try and hold position to finish a little higher.
Okay, now
here comes Huff, guys.
Whoa,
Here comes Huff. He's looking to the outside.
Oh, he's getting squeezed.
Oh,
Boren is over.
What a wild ride for Boren is. He thanks Huff for that.
I don't know that Boren kind of moved across the track there, so it's either driver could have taken a little bit of fault. Obviously, Huff probably should have backed out of it. We're going to look at the replay. This is coming around Pouan. It's going to be the braking for the next corner. I kind of saw that start to unfold. The Stanley car of Boren didn't realize he was going to be there and just moved into him. And bam, over he goes a couple times.
I don't know. Is this out of line, Bill? Did he huff and did he puff and did he blow his house down?
He blew the house down there, I think.
I'm sorry. I couldn't resist, man.
That was good.
Well,
hey, to follow up on Yaman, go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, unfortunately, the sky was on the wrong side there for Boren, but we've actually switched back over to Huff, who's in a battle still. I believe this is with Wayne Hutchinson. This is for 17th position.
That was Wayne Hutchinson who got sandwiched on the opening lap there. When we went to green, was that car involved in the sandwich at the back of the pack? Wayne managing now to get himself up to 17th. Huff making a trip around, and is he gonna pull it off? It's a long way to go down Kemmel here, and right now he's winning the drag race. Hutchinson, what I was gonna say about Hutchinson as he got past there is he never took any damage repair. He's got damage on the front end and the rear end, so he maximizing his time in the pit lane. I'm not sure why he didn't take the free repair.
Well, maybe he was saving it for if he had more damage before his final stop.
Our leader is in now, so he's I was going to say that Amjad Yaman, we're going to talk about this. He talked about running long and then running that last stint on old tires. This pretty much decides it now. He's going to come in, take fuel to get all the way to the end, and fresh tires because he has an hour to go. Who's been running him down is Blake Reynolds, has been knocking off about a half a second per lap. I'm not sure Reynolds in the Ford needs to take tires, so that's the guy we may want to keep an eye on.
And Reynolds is in the pits right now.
Oh, here we go.
Sorry there, Joe. We were both watching the same thing.
Yeah. and let's see. We can just see Amjad there down at the end of the pits. Let's see if he goes up on the jacks. Sometimes iRacing lies to us a bit. Here we've got the pit cam going, watching both cars, seeing what they're going to do. Obviously going to have to fill up quite a bit to get to the end here.
Looked like Reynolds did take tires, so that shows you what I need to know. But he's got a whole hour to go, so I guess he had to take tires on that.
And Amjad's still sitting stationary. No, Amjad did not take tires. So Amjad is going to try to run almost 2 hours on these tires.
Lamberti having to deal with Fleischle right now. Fleischle charging hard, wanting to fight with Lamberti right now. Fleischle sitting there in 22nd spot.
And remember, Fleischle had a problem on lap 1 coming up through Eau Rouge. So if we talk about a recovery drive, this is definitely a recovery drive for him. As we watch Lamberti, our current leader, yet to take his second stop, continues on. That'll be the real key. See where he comes out in accordance with Amjad Yaman. Last time Amjad won out of the pits, gained about 10 seconds on him. We don't know if that was a short stop for Yaman, though.
You know, McLaren seemed to be getting really good gas mileage here today.
They certainly seem to. And these guys do have the ability to map these cars, the map their fuel usage, so I wonder if some of the McLarens are just turning it down just a little bit to save on that.
We were talking to Amjad Yaman before the race about pit strategy, and we call him the doctor because he's so good at it. He actually gave us an Excel spreadsheet with his plans for what he wants to do for pit mileage. He's the professor.
Absolutely. And a little tidbit for you, I deemed him the doctor because you can't call him the professor because that's Alain Prost.
There you go.
So that's why he is the doctor instead.
Man, he's something else, and he's got it now. Now it looks like Reynolds is the guy who's behind him. It looks like Reynolds has come ahead of Huff.
Right now, we're riding on board with Michael Lane sitting in 12th. He's chasing down Mark Jubinski. This is about half a second between these guys. Just a little bit ahead. They got a little bit of battle. You can see just flashes of on your screen. That's between Hinchman and Paulson.
Kevin Brown currently running in third, so look for him to stay out there for a while, get some laps led.
We mentioned that some of these drivers have teams such as TNT. Amjad Yaman, for those not familiar, races for 49 Motorsports. And you talked about the spreadsheet. If there's one thing I found about the 49 guys is they don't go into a race without being prepared. They do so much prep work and so much homework, and that's why you see these spreadsheets coming at us from them explaining exactly how this race is going to go for them.
In fact, he's here, as a lot of these guys are, this kind of ringers have come in for practice for the big iRacing event that's coming up.
I believe Turn 2 Motorsports will be working the big spreadsheet for the 24 hours of Spa, my friends.
Oh, undoubtedly. And for those wondering, I myself am a driver for Turn 2, and Sean is our crew chief, actually. So we do have a few connections out there, so we're not completely impartial, but we try to stay unbiased for these broadcasts, at least.
I supply the orange slices for the team.
Yes, thank you for those, Bill. They are much appreciated at 3 a.m.
They're helpful.
I just wish you wouldn't wear that maid's outfit when you do it. So anyways, we're still on Michael Lane. Hasn't been able to really make much progress on Jubinski. Just about holding station. Same thing with Hinchman, just ahead of him on Paulson. So these guys, all for 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, are kind of holding station. Can't quite really crack that nut.
I got to tell you, I'm going to take my hat off to Chris Pence. He, right now, seems to be our biggest mover in the race. I mean, he did start 24th. He's in 5th. Now, he hasn't gone in for a second stop yet. I don't believe he has. But, man, he's been solid throughout the race, been involved in a lot of battles. And, I can confirm he hasn't been in yet. He'll be coming in soon here, like the rest of the McLarens that are still out here. But, really, to pull off a top 5 right now when he was mired back there in the thick of it back in the 20 back through 30, I was worried about him, but he has done a really solid job of coming up through the field.
Now, I'm keeping half an eye on Amjad Yaman to see if he's going to run into any traffic. Right now, he's been kind of by himself. Just a little bit up the roads, he's got David Williams. But this could be another one of those critical things. How much traffic is Yaman going to run into? Because that could slow him down and alter his strategy. Just ahead of Williams is Chris Pence, who we were talking about a moment ago, as well as Brian Bennett. And if those guys start fighting, that as well could slow down Yaman. So keep your eyes on this space. This could develop into something important to the entire race.
Yeah, and Chris Pence was a little slow there through the turn. Lost a little bit of position there to... I'm sorry to Chris Pence.
We ride on board with Yaman, and apparently he just set the fastest lap last lap. And I'm assuming that's of the entire field.
Yeah, he has about 27 seconds back to Blake Reynolds, who is virtually in second place. It was 22 before the pit stop.
And there he goes on the inside of Williams. I was starting to wonder if he was being held up, and this is going to slow him down just a little bit, but very decisive move down into Curve of Paul Frere.
You say decisive, I say aggressive. Yeah, easy for me to say. But yeah, Amjad pulling that move off really quick, making short order of it. And now he's working on Pence.
And that's one of the features that we've come to know about Yaman, is that even though he's a calculating driver, he's very smart. He knows how to race with other people. He's not just someone that sits here and does it through the pits. When the time comes, he can go door to door.
Pence just goes off there for his pit stop right in front of Yaman.
Yep, we saw that. And Williams trying to come back down at the source, decides better of it. If I was Williams, I'd try to hold on to the back of Yaman at this rate, just try and ride his coattails to the end of the track, the end of the race.
Amjad Yaman is my 92-year-old mother-in-law's favorite driver. She can't remember his name. She calls him Ramjet. And I know who you're talking about. I know Mama Jean. I know who you're talking about. But Amjad breaks her heart more often. And here's a pass. Look at this. As Amjad is going to, is that Hayspec going to get around him, huh?
That's Williams trying to go back around the outside, like I was saying. And he's going to try and hold on to it. Amjad,
this doesn't seem wise.
Oh, I was going to say, this is not the fight that you want to fight here.
Gonna break my 92-year mother-in-law's heart again, Amjad. Let him go.
Well, if he's slower than him, he really doesn't want to let him go, because that's going to hurt his chances of winning this race. He's got to stay ahead of him and then try and break the draft at this point. If I was Amjad, I'd maybe even try and get on the radio and say, hey, this is for the race win. Don't fight me, please.
But Williams has a pit stop to... Well, he doesn't have to make that pit stop for quite a while, so you never know. Ugh.
It looks like he's finally got away from him a little.
Mama Jean, turn it off. Go make a martini. This isn't good for your heart, sweetheart. Oh.
Yeah, he's broken away just a little bit. He's got about half a second.
Okay.
The draft could pull him back in.
We got big news here. Our leader is in. He was 1 minute and 15 seconds ahead. I don't know the bogey time. Seems like 1 minute and 15 seconds is so long he should be able to get in and out. But this pit lane is so far around. He's made it around the Jackson in the Box peril turn, so now everything looks good. Our leader still hasn't found his pit stall yet.
He should be all the way at the front with his... He was on pole, wasn't he?
There he goes. He's getting there. That's so slow here. He's there now.
Yeah, he has the longest trip in, obviously.
And Amjad's just going through the chicane now, so unless he can get really good service and use the power fueler, I think he's going to lose the lead.
Yeah, looks like that delta's about a minute and 23 seconds, Bill.
Lamberti still in his stall, still stationary.
And there goes the Texan driver past the start-finish line and is going to reclaim the lead. And actually, it is not really the lead, the virtual lead.
Yep, this bumps him up to third place. He still has Brian Bennett and Kevin Brown ahead, yet to pit, and Brown has said before the race he plans to go very long. Lamberti now is moving. He's out of the pits. Quite a gap between them. Meanwhile, Yaman trying to work his way past lap traffic. He was even trying to just get a whiff of that draft to help get him that little bit more speed and get away from Williams. Williams has not been able to make an attack this time by, but now he has Brian Bennett just in front of him. But it's almost a bit of a moot point at this point because how much does he have between Yaman and Lamberti? It is quite a few seconds, definitely more than it was when they both were before their second stop.
Now, I apologize to the Ryan Huff fans. You know, we've been keeping an eye on him. He's trying to make it up from his mistake. He's actually gotten around Blake Reynolds for the academic third position, I guess you're going to call it there. Reynolds is going to be in fourth after these pit stops cycle through. My apologies to Kevin Brown, who's yet to make that stop, but I just don't see him staying up there, but we'll see.
Yaman making that move, guys. Finally getting around Brian Bennett there.
Yep, this moves him up into second place. And he's not going to be catching Kevin Brown, though, to take first before the next pit stop for Brown because it's about 41 seconds up to him. And already Yaman is leaving Bennett in the dust. Meanwhile, we look at Ryan Huff, who's currently scored in ninth. But I believe Huff has taken both his stops so far. Is that correct?
Yes, Huff is done. Yaman's done, Huff is done, and
Lamberti's done.
Lamberti is done. And the driver in the Porsche, Blake Reynolds, is done. So I believe those are really 1, 2, 3, 4 that we just went through when all things sort out.
Boy, if Huff can get back on the podium, that is quite a drive to come back from.
Kevin Brown going to have to worry about Ryan Otis right behind him. Otis all in Kevin's mirror right now. We know Otis is fast, and he's making his way. Looks like he's going to try and make a move.
And this is not
quite
for position. Otis is a lapped car, I believe, because I'm not seeing him on time and scoring behind him.
No. Well, he's done with the stops, I believe. So Brown's out there in no man's land.
Yeah, Otis had trouble early and is a lap down, but he's talking to Kevin right now. I can't hear what he's saying.
So it sounds like he was asking him to just let him by. And I think Kevin knows that it's not worth trying to fight this battle. He just lets him through into Puan. Just behind him, he's also got James Paulson.
Well, you know, if you're Otis, you kind of have to ask for position. You're a lap down, you're unlapping yourself, you're going around the leader. Oh, and Otis gets a little loose ahead of Brown.
Not enough for him to get right back past him, so not going to trouble him too much. That was good sportsmanship from both Brown and Otis. We've got 37 minutes left on the clock now.
Because you got to remember, Otis is in a battle with Paulson back there for 18th. I mean, that's Brown's sitting between them right now, but that's a battle for 17th.
So even more reason for him to want to let him by if he was holding him up. Now they come up to the braking zone of the chicane.
Yeah, and Kevin's really coming to the end of his run here, so he's still got a few laps left on the car, but coming to the end of his run for sure. No, nothing really lost by letting him by there. It was a good gentleman move, like we said.
So Brown, Bennett, Williams, Hasebeck are still. Jabinski is yet to pit. Murphy still needs to come in.
We're going to see Brown probably, and these other guys, if they are employing the same strategy, with about 20 minutes left to go or thereabouts, if they're running it all the way to the end of the fuel.
Yaman's lead is about 16 seconds on Lamberti. And about, mercy, a long way back to Huff.
Let's find ourselves a battle on track. I'm looking at Sam Bourne, who's only 3/10 behind Chris Beck. Now, this is for some lower positions. Bourne, remember, went tumbling down in Fagnes, so he is sitting in 30th, and Chris Beck in 29th. At this point, Boren probably just trying to salvage some sort of semblance of points as he gets right up on the back of Chris Beck. We ride on board with Boren now. Down into the source, takes a little bit of a look. There's no space in there for Sam Boren, though. He's going to still have to stay in third position. In fact, lose ground with a bad exit.
Are those a pair of Fords, Joe? Are they both in Fords?
They're both in Fords. And Chris Beck is actually getting on the radio apologizing, saying he didn't mean to chop down on him. And actually, he just got on the radio, told him to go by. He's going to let him on the outside. There we hop outside of the car, and you can see it's a clean move. So now Boren is up into, or I'm seeing 28th now, so he must have passed somebody by in the pits potentially there.
I'm going roof hunting. I'm going to find the fastest roof I can find out there right now.
Well, while you're doing that, I've found another battle. Wayne Hutchinson very close behind Mike Taylor for 24th and 25th.
And Kevin Brown is off. Kevin Brown is in for his pit stop, guys.
So this is going to hand the lead over to Amjad Yaman, potentially one last time. Meanwhile, we're looking at Mike Taylor and that Momo roof.
Hey, you found one.
Nice classic scheme on that car. Chased down by Wayne Hutchinson, who at first I thought this was a Days of Thunder scheme that he had on his BMW, but I'm not quite sure of that here now.
Oh, I thought it was the Chevy dealership. I'm trying to remember the name now. Yeah,
the City Chevrolet, I believe it was called.
City Chevrolet. That was it. Yes, sir.
I'm used to seeing that one in the oval races. I didn't think that we'd see it show up here, but I'm not quite sure if that's actually the paint scheme. It doesn't quite look like it, actually.
I believe he is your top roof driver, 24th position.
Oof! Wow, the roofs are hurting then. So Wayne, if you're watching and listening, maybe see if you could complete that scheme and get a City Chevrolet theme going there. Meanwhile, look at this coming up behind him. David Williams is going to put a lap on these guys. Looks like he'll just briefly interrupt it. Is he going to get by both of them? And yep, looks like Taylor's going to just let him slot on through, and those guys can get back to battling.
Brown has dropped down to 9th position.
But that is his final stop done. With about a half an hour to go. He's still in the pits right now.
Now he's down to 10th. He's got Brian Bennett in 11th. He's going to try to beat out.
Yeah, Brown is away, guys. Yep.
The thing is, he's going to have fresher tires than those around him who pitted earlier. I wonder if that's going to benefit it. Or did he take tires, actually? Because I believe
he did.
He did? Okay, well then. Because I was going to say, I thought he said at one point that he didn't plan on taking tires in the last stop, but I wonder if he's rethinking that strategy. Sounds like Lamberti has now moved himself up into 3rd. He's overtaken Hesbeck. Now, was that through strategy, or was that?
I think Williams and Hesbeck are still need a pit stop in them. Williams is currently running in 2nd position.
No, Lamberti has definitely stopped.
No, Hesbeck needs to pit.
Hesbeck. Oh, that's right. You're talking about Williams and Hesbeck. There we go.
So I think Williams and Hesbeck are really your last two guys to come in now that Brown's come in. So we can go the distance from here.
You know, I'm starting to wonder if there's something down there in Texas other than maybe COTA to give these guys an advantage, because Lamberti, also a Texas driver, along with Yaman.
Yeah, you know, Texas doing this will actually help Texas in the Governor's Cup, because here's 2 ringers coming, and neither one of these guys are full-time drivers. Going to pick up, knock on wood, a 1st and a 2nd, and that's going to give some points to that Texas team that was beginning to close in on the Northwest team that is really doesn't really have the talent. Northwest gets by just having sheer numbers A lot of white sheep.
Well, I mean, when you've got a lot of rain, everybody's inside
That's
and
it.
racing on simulator, so
Rain.
let's switch over to Paulson in 17th, trying to chase down Bennett. We've seen these guys a couple times, Bennett especially, who previously didn't have a hood on that McLaren.
He's all good to go now.
Absolutely. It is McLaren versus McLaren here for that 16th position. Not quite close enough right now. Draft is going to reel him in as they head down to Blanchimont. Paulson just holding steady. Is he going to take a dive down into the chicane? Doesn't get a very good run at all through Blanchimont. That gives some space, and it's definitely not going to be a pass attempt here down into the braking zone. We're hearing that Smith finally overtook Ford. In fact, look at this. We got a couple of cars together, if we can hop over to that. Ford, and then there's a battle going on between Callisto and Lane just behind them. Or is that, oh no, that's, excuse me, Callisto is a lapped car.
Hey, my apologies. How about Kyle Murphy in a roof, running in 6th position, has yet to pit. So sorry, Kyle.
Release the Kraken, as they say.
Yeah, and he's locked in a battle with Huff right now. Huff really putting the move on him.
Huff's got a good run coming out of curve of Paul Frere. Did Murphy just get on the radio and tell him to go by?
Yeah, because Murphy has a pit stop coming up. He knows he's got to come one more time in.
Now, who's this behind him? That's Blake Reynolds. Is that for
that's
position,
for position.
though?
Yeah, Reynolds is in that. Reynolds has been closing in on Huff. Huff got slowed down a little bit through traffic. Here
that
comes
was a
Reynolds.
Mistake. Oh no! The fact that he let him through ruined his momentum. That allowed Reynolds to catch up and just absolutely blew by under braking down into the bus stop chicane. So unfortunately, Kyle Murphy goes down one more spot.
But the real battle now is Huff and Reynolds. That's a legitimate battle for 3rd position. Even though it's going to show up as 6th and 7th on your scoring. As soon as we get Jubinski and Hayesbeck and Williams out of the way, that's really for 3rd.
Riding on board with Reynolds, trying to chase down Huff. He's got about half a second between himself and the BMW at the moment. 28 minutes left to go on the clock. Those of you who are normal iRacers and used to official racing, so many of them last maybe about half an hour. Just imagine having raced for already 2 more hours and you still got that regular race to go. These guys are sweating away in their cars, so those who don't have air conditioning in their homes.
Sean and I actually turned the thermostat up to represent, to get more in-depth
Full
feeling.
of sweat. That's all I can say.
Well, I used to have my racing rig upstairs in my bedroom back in my last house, and we didn't have AC up there. It got pretty hot. Middle of an Ohio summer, let me tell you.
And driving all night, hands wet on the wheel. Little radar love there for you.
There you go, baby.
This is a good battle here between Huff and Reynolds.
Reynolds doesn't seem to be able to close at the moment, though. It doesn't look like there's any place that he's really all that stronger than Huff.
Well, what may make him stronger is he's coming up on Jubinski here in a second. And that's, it's going to be for position, but Jubinski's going to be considerably slower.
Jubinski's yet to make his second stop as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that would be correct. Jubinski still needing to stop also there.
Mark Gugu Jubinski. There, I got it in. Well, that's not a good nickname.
Here we go, closing up a little bit this time. Getting on to that McLaren. We're on Huff. And still, yet again,
Wow.
Yeah,
Reynolds
Reynolds had a little trouble there coming out of the chicane.
I'm not sure that Reynolds has the pace right now. It may change if the tires start to go off on that BMW. But unless that happens, I can't see Reynolds try to close in without a mistake.
Kyle Murphy in the pits. He has brought the Kraken is in.
Hayesbeck is also in, so I got David Williams as really, and Jubinski as our last 2 guys who got to bring these cars in.
And there's about 14 or 15 seconds, actually, between Lamberti and Yaman. So he has definitely stretched that since the second stop.
Yeah, and Williams on his first stint stayed out just as long as he could. He was the last car to come in, so he's gonna probably keep it out there again.
There goes Huff. We're on board, going past the car of Jabinski, and makes it cleanly past. Let's see if he can stretch a little bit of distance between himself and Reynolds now. Is Reynolds going to be able to get by right now? Jabinski's not easing up. Reynolds looks to the inside. Oh, now he eases up and he lets him on through.
That's probably good because I think Jabinski is probably going to come into the pits this time. Didn't want any problems there with a slowdown for a pit entry.
25 minutes left to go.
David Williams still has that car out there, running in second position.
He is definitely running it until it's got fumes left.
That's how Marines do it.
Guys, Rob Gall fighting with James Hinchman right now as they head up Kemmel.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, he's
Gall to the inside, and it looks like Hinchman is going to be able to take it. Hinchman there in the VIP machine.
Yeah, those two almost made contact coming out already on their pretty dicey cars, both going sideways. Then they come up Kemmel in a drag race, and Hinchman the winner.
That's really 4 cars in a row for position there with Pence, Hinchman, Gall, and then there's that red and blue car of Otis we've seen a lot of running in 14th.
You remember, Otis was one of the championship contenders last season, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I believe so. And I think he's a little bit better at the ovals, if I recall. But he's not doing too bad. If he's an oval guy, 14th out of a field of 34 around a track as difficult as Spa, he should be proud of that.
It's just so interesting to watch these oval guys. If they want the championships, they have to compete, but like Ankerney is certainly this is not his strength, but he comes in here, tries to get the most points he can.
And there we see the car just, I believe that was Pence, going a little bit off track coming out of curve of Paul Frere. No damage though. Meanwhile, Ryan Huff must have had a little bit of a problem or Blake Reynolds found some pace somewhere along the line, because now he has really closed up to less than half a second on that BMW.
And as I mentioned Ankerney's name, I go to look and see that actually he qualified but didn't show up today. So I guess he'll get starting points.
Did he qualify in top split or in the?
Yeah, no, he was in the top split. But
interesting. Well, he might have had something else that kept him from here. So we're still watching Huff being threatened. Oh, and he goes a little bit wide through the first part of Fanny's. That's going to open up an opportunity for Reynolds. Reynolds looking to the outside as Huff goes defensive. Now it's starting to kick off.
This is good, I think.
Just gets chopped off at the nose, takes the air away from him. He loses a little bit of ground.
That's 4th and 5th right now on your screen, but really it's a podium position. And here he comes, Joe. Oh, get that Ford. Does the Ford have the horsepower to get there? Not this time.
Oh, yes.
Oh, here it is.
Look at that. A bobble out of Blanchimont is going to give Reynolds a chance. He's to the outside, down into the braking of the bus stop. Still side by side. They switch back, and Reynolds is going to have the inside. Can he get on the power? He does. Just forces him off the track. Huff is still to the inside. He's going to have a chance down into La Source. Starting to lose ground as Reynolds had the better drag out of the corner. Tries to outbrake him. He's got the inside of La Source. Still side by side. Nobody giving an inch. Once again, the momentum going to Reynolds. Trying to sneak ahead so that they can get single file. There he goes, back to the racing line before they get to Eau Rouge. Great racing from both drivers. Nobody giving an inch. Just a little bit of a tap on the back up Eau Rouge. Can he get the draft? Can he get the momentum? Huff wants the position back. He is right on top of him. Pushing him down the straight, bump drafting. Now he pulls out. Reynolds to the inside, still defending, down into Lacoombs. Can he outbrake him? If he can hold the outside, he can get the spot back, and no! Now Reynolds has it.
Nice defensive line by Reynolds.
Excellent driving from both drivers there. Wow, they were side by side for about 3 corners.
This is after 2 hours of racing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is it. It's all coming down to the last just under 20 minutes to go here. And listen, it's time to go. If you haven't been going yet, now is the time. It's, the strategy plays out here, guys. I was just watching a battle here with Brendan Hobart. He trying to stay in the top 10 right now, and he had to get around the machine of Sam Bourne, 2 Ford GTs just slugging it out there, and while Hobart wins that battle, he is still holding strong in 7th place.
And David, go ahead.
Whoa, is that Otis spinning? That was Otis. Let's go to the replay of that. That was up Eau Rouge. Everybody kept a really cool head on that one. I just glanced over at our screen here. Here we can see the replay side by side through La Source, just like we saw in our previous battle before with Reynolds and Huff. Almost coming to blows there, door to door. Do they try and go through side by side? What happens here? Yes, they try to. Oh, and just lose it. Wow, inches between them. Full 360 from Otis, and he keeps it going. Nobody making contact. Woo! Otis with the Danny Sullivan Award there. Look at that. Wow, just absolutely no space between himself and I'm trying to remember who the driver was in the VIP car. That was Hinchman. Oh my goodness. Otis, I hope you have your brown pants on.
Meanwhile, David Williams keeps it out for another lap here as we have less than 20 minutes to go. He's like the guy who never cashes your check and you can't balance your checkbook. You're driving me crazy, David. You're sitting up there in second place. Cash the check so I can get a total here. He's still running in second, about 4 seconds ahead of Lamberti.
He's been really consistent, though. I mean, he's turning great laps.
Well, right now it's looking like 14 seconds still between Lamberti and Yaman from what I'm adding up, if my math is good, and I wouldn't put money on that, but...
Really, it's Reynolds and Huff is the real battle for that final shortest podium position. Huff staying with him, even though Reynolds has gotten around him. Assuming Williams has to pit again. Maybe he's turned that mixture down so much he can one-stop it. But
I don't think
Sean
he can stretch that far.
Like Sean said, he's running too good a pace to be doing anything like that.
No. He's running way too fast to be mapped. Right now, he is... he's 24 laps into this run.
Paulson was having some words with someone. I didn't quite catch who it was. So if Huff is aware that Williams has yet to pit, that's going to be some extra incentive, I'm sure. He's going to want to get back up there, get himself a nice podium finish, steal it back from Reynolds. And it's looking just like it was like before when Reynolds was trying to chase him, holding steady but cannot close.
Yeah, he just can't seem to close on Reynolds. And of course, that GT 40 got the straight line speed that he needs to keep that distance. But Huff just not taking it in quite deep enough, to be honest, to get it done. Brett Trozen came in the pits right in front of them.
Somebody check Williams' car for an extra gas tank in there or something. He's still going.
This is not a track you want to run out of gas on.
Absolutely not.
I guess there is no real track. I guess one that's always downhill.
And what did we say the bogey time was for a pit stop here?
It's about 1 minute and 23 or so.
Trying to figure out, is he battling for a top 10 potentially here, Williams? I'm trying to figure out where he's going to come out once he pits.
I think it would put him right back there with Fleischle or Hasebeck. Yeah, right. Probably ahead of Hasebeck.
Oh, wow. Is Fleischle in the top 10 now?
Well, Fleischle, is running 9th, 1 minute and 20 back. So I think Williams will slot out probably between Brown and Fleischle, put Fleischle in 10th, Brown in 8th.
Wow,
Williams in 9th, yeah.
Should we have been watching Fleischle, or is he not taking his second stop yet?
No, he hasn't taken his second stop yet. In
fact,
I was
going to say.
He's 26 laps into his run.
I was impressed if he was able to get back to a top 10 after his lap 1 accident. Meanwhile, we're still on board with Huff, very close behind Reynolds, and whoa, he closes quite a bit on that corner.
He
This
took
is
it
down
deep
into
that time.
Fanges. Yeah. Ford versus BMW. We're on lap 54.
We got Jabinski and Hobart fighting again.
That is for 6th and 7th position.
And they talk about the balance of classes there. You have a Yaman and a BMW out in front, Lamberti and the McLaren in second, Reynolds in the Ford in third. Can't do about much better than that.
Hey, Bill, breathe a sigh of relief.
Okay, Williams is in.
All right, things are adding up now.
So now we'll see Huff, and Reynolds slot themselves into 3rd and 4th. If they're watching their screens, seeing where their timing and scoring is telling them they are now, this is going to alert both of them. This is for the podium now. 15 minutes left to go on the clock.
Yeah, boy, what a slow pit entry for David Williams. Gotta feel like an eternity here right about now. He went 25 laps on that stint. That's just about max, guys.
And they have, for viewers who don't know about iRacing, they have something called the F3 box that tells you your current position. And when you're in there, just slowly by slow, you see the positions click off now as he falls down. Now he's in 6th.
And Kevin Brown's coming by. Yeah, that's going to be 7th now. Where's Jabinski? Jabinski is in.
So I think that's it. I think Williams should be able to get down after Brown. I don't think anybody's going to get there.
Fleischle is in as well. Here comes Hesbeck. So I think Hesbeck might be able to get past him, though.
Yeah, Hayspec looked like he might do it, huh?
And here comes Williams.
Yep. He didn't take any tires.
Well, he's only got a couple laps that he has to go on these. So if he can just grit his teeth through it.
This is going to be close here. Williams not up to speed yet.
Is he going to get a bad
flying.
Is he going to get a bad pit exit, though? He crossed over that white line.
Okay, Hayspec's saying something.
I believe we'll have to see if anybody can figure out if Hayspec took tires or not. Oh,
yeah, he said he was taking 2 tires.
Well, I thought he just said that he assumed that Williams had fresher tires, but does he know if he pitted or that he took tires or not? Because if Williams just said okay, maybe he's just pulling a fast one on him. Meanwhile, looking at Kyle Murphy battling in 18th. Is that Ford? Yeah, that's Larry Ford. That was an overtake that we just saw the end of, actually.
And just go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, let's go through our top 10 now that everybody's finally cycled through, and pull that one up on screen.
We're going to wait for Mark Jabinski to cycle through before we do that. We hear from our director.
And in the meantime, Michael Smith and Michael Lane side by side through Pouan. That's an even more difficult corner to go too wide, and they come out safe, but it's Lane who comes out on top.
Smith's an exciting driver. Let's get an onboard camera on him next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
He mixes it up.
Lots of little battles going on. They have spread out all over Spa, and I guess the only real important one left is the one at the front of the field. Amjad Yaman just stranglehold on the field right now. He's up to almost 15 seconds out in front of Tony Lamberti.
Yeah, well, when we run through the top 10, we'll highlight some of these. But William and Hayspec are in the nice little battle for 7th, and Reynolds and Huff are in that battle for 3rd.
Indeed. I think they've all come by at this point. So let's pull up our graphic on the screen. Amjad Yaman is currently in the lead. Tony Lamberti, 15 seconds in arrears, is in second, has not been able to touch Yaman. So apparently it's become clear at this point that Yaman was waiting patiently in the first stint. Blake Reynolds done a fantastic job all the way up into third, and he started in ninth, so he's gained a number of positions. And Ryan Huff, you have to wonder what could have been if not for that mistake just before his first pit stop. He is sitting in fourth, Bill.
Yeah, and Brandon Hobart, a quiet fifth position there, really hasn't mixed it up too much. Kevin Brown, after that long run, going to sort through in sixth spot in that McLaren. I think he's going to probably be pleased with that run, although he's never shows too much pleasure in his run. We'll see what he has to say, maybe. David Williams, finally, my checkbook is balancing up, and he sorts out in seventh position, but he's not done yet. He's in a battle with Hasebeck in that roof, running in eighth there. And then rounding out the top 10 is Pence and Mark Jubinski.
And we got an accident. That's Jack
just
Hinchman,
behind them,
who ran into Brett Trocine. That was a lapped car who lost it in front of him. You can see Hinchman with significant damage. Now, is he fighting? Yes, he's fighting with Ryan Otis, actually. So that is not going to help him one bit. He's got it all dented in. Now we're going to look at the replay here.
Trozine Lawson then came right across his nose.
Just caught that out of the corner of my eye. You're going to see Hinchman. And it looks like, yeah, that Pennzoil car had gone way wide and started to lose it. One of the perils of letting yourself get a little bit too far out in that paved runoff.
Trozine wanted to shout out to his wife Lucy and his little girl Sam, who's going to start to race in iRacing. Sam, don't do that. Don't do what Daddy just did, okay?
And it looks like we saw another replay from inside Jack Hinchman's car. It looks like that Trocine just clipped a little bit of the dirt. But
hey guys, Otis making a move on Hinchman right now as they're coming down on the source.
He's going to try it around the outside. Hinchman holding on, and it looks like Otis just ran a little too wide. But now we're going to really see the deficiencies in Hinchman's aerodynamics on that BMW as they head up the hill through Eau Rouge. And when they come over the top, he's probably just going to drop like a rock.
Well, you never. Sometimes it's a kind beast, and sometimes it's a cruel beast.
I think he's closing pretty quick.
I think it's going to be pretty cruel. See you later.
There goes Otis to the inside. Oh, and he backs out of it. I wonder if he knows he has damage, and Otis is just waiting for a solid pass here.
Well, Sean, it happened right in front of Otis's windscreen, so I'm sure he knows it. So it's just a matter of when he wants to do it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He can't wait too long because right behind them is Rob Gall. So if he slowed up too much, Gall's going to be able to get in this mix too.
Well, and you're running out of time here.
Yeah,
I mean, the clock is ticking, guys.
Only 7.5 minutes left currently. We are on board with Otis. Riding on the roof, loses a little bit of ground. Coming through Pouan, but he's going to get a much better exit. This could give him a chance at a Fanyes. No, just not close enough. And again, this is for 11th and 12th spot. In the meantime, let's stay with this. Ryan Huff still about 1.3 behind Reynolds, not able to make a dent.
With Mike Taylor and 22nd second separating him, so that battle's pretty much shut down.
Here we go, once again closing in when it gets to the point where aerodynamics matter. He's going to look around the outside and backs out of it. Oh, and now he's lost momentum and he can't get him in the braking zone. Ryan, you got to set him up, buddy. See if he can do it coming out of the bus stop into La Source. Get himself a nice, good exit. Not quite enough, although Hinchman was a little bit out into the AstroTurf there.
And Gall and now James Paulison getting into the mix as these guys are slowed down. Gall's right there now.
Closing in much better through La Source. Hinchman looking very weak now. Otis this time backing out before they get to Eau Rouge. drops a bit coming through the through Radillion there. And he's going to close up once again, but I think it's going to be a repeat of last time.
Oh, he's got him now.
Makes it look easy. This time, he's through. So, Ryan Otis up into 11th now.
Now Hinchman is thinking, what can I salvage out of this? I'm running 12th. Can I hold off Gall for 13th? Can I hold off Paulson for 14th?
What a time to have that sort of accident, especially when people are just starting to come up behind you.
Yeah, Rob Gall's still a threat here to do something maybe. I mean, Hinchman's got to worry about that. Gall has been in the picture this whole time. But Otis, Otis, just what a warrior effort for him after, like I said, overcoming early trouble. He's been fighting all race to get back up there to the front of the grid where he started.
We'll stay on this battle, but I'm keeping half an eye on Carl Burke, who's actually in a battle with Fleischle and Beltrami. If that starts to erupt, I'll interject. But here we're still watching Gall trying to chase down Hinchman.
While you're looking at that, Beltrami running in 19th position, Burke in 20th, and
and Burke has a run.
Here he goes.
Burke's going for it. Looks to the inside into Fanyes. It's going to switch back, though. He's going to have to really carry his momentum, and he does it with ease. And now Fleischle is going to try to get in on this action. This is still for position. Fleischle looks to the inside, but he's not close enough.
So you can go to your 40th high school reunion, or you can make a pass late in the race for 19th position.
I think I'll take a pass late in the race if it's
there
me.
You go.
But then I don't have too many fond memories of high school, so.
But the reunion was in his girlfriend's hometown, and she didn't get to go there. So it was in Eureka, California. Beautiful place. Oh well. Sorry, Cindy.
Remember, Bill, you can do what you want to, and yes, you can leave your friends behind.
Okay.
It was a nice safe pass, too.
Actually, I did some studying. I went in and Zeno, the Greek philosopher and race commentator from 5th century BC, said, you can never really make a pass because before you get to where a guy is, you have to go halfway first. So you never actually make the pass. So actually, this is all academic. This race is basically over. It's race hard, race clean. We'll see you on the track. Go ahead, Joe.
Amjad had a bit of a moment going 3 wide down the Kimmel Straight trying to lap cars, but he made it through safe. It is not over yet, even though he has a 15-second lead. He could theoretically spin, lose about 10 seconds, and still be in the lead, but I wouldn't want to do that this late in the race.
Now, according to Zeno, it can happen. So you guys look it up, Google it. It's Achilles and the tortoise. Check it out.
Bill, always the educational one on our broadcast. But I'm sure he couldn't really teach Amjad too much today because he has been schooling everybody out here. 2 minutes left on the clock. 16-second lead now. He is just going to have to cruise to the end, not make any mistakes, and he has got this week's checkered flag in his hand.
Well, I got to tell you, really great race coming down to the wire here. Amjad's kind of going to run away with it, but the battles that we've seen throughout the field between the likes of David Williams and Alan Hasebeck, Chris Pence, Jabinski, Otis, Rob Gall, all these guys, Jack Hinchman, all have been in the mix. All have been factors at one time or another. The fight for the top 10 has been strong, and it's been real, guys.
And speaking of Hinchman, remember we saw him get that damage early and was trying to hold cars off. He has not only been passed by Gall, but also by Paulson. So Hinchman down to 14th position after he was looking at a potential top 10. That has got to be heartbreaking.
And now Otis is really trying to put the pressure on Jabinski now, guys.
Otis is looking very strong. He's got a draft down the Kimmel Straight. Jabinski goes defensive down to Lacombe. I don't think Otis is going to be close. Oh, wow! Wow! And brake markers must have been very different for Jubinski being that far on the inside, because Otis goes around the outside. Acts like Jubinski wasn't even there.
And there's Rob Gall right back there. Just behind Jubinski now, still fighting.
Whew. Gall went right up to the rear bumper of Jubinski. Manages not to get into him. But Gall definitely looks like he's being held up. Jubinski slowly slipping back.
Well, the last thing Mark wanted to do was not be able to hold his inside line and cause an accident with 15 seconds to go.
Where is Yaman?
Otis gonna make it into the top 10, guys. We could just hang on to it here.
Here comes
5
Yaman
seconds
right now.
on the clock. No, Yaman is
Yaman
is on the other side of the track.
That's it.
We're looking at him now. White flag is out. White flag is out, so I'm keeping half an eye on him. In the meantime, let's watch this battle between Gall and Jubinski as well. It looks like, who is that behind him? That's Paulson. And Hinchman got a run on Paulson, actually. He's going to try and get that back. Goes around the outside. Oh, they're going to go too wide through Blanchimont, guys. Be careful. It's the end of the race, and it looks like Paulson's going to give it up.
Ooh, but
Hinchman
Hinchman
goes
goes
way
all
off.
the way off. Exploring the limits again there.
They're going to get one more lap here. Amjed's just got less than half a lap to go.
Ryan Otis sitting in 10th. He's got 4 cars behind him. That's a pretty good battle going on behind him there this last lap.
And here we see a battle between Ford and Lane. We watched these guys just a little bit earlier. In fact, just ahead of them is our overall leader. So let's switch just a little bit up because it's one more corner to go. Or is that the finish line there? That's the finish line. Checkered flag goes to Amjad Yaman. Takes the win here at round 6 of the Pacific Majors with ease.
It's kind of funny. Amjad a little bit loose there coming out of the chicane.
I think he was
show.
Yeah, I think he was whacking the car back and forth. Meanwhile, we're looking at Hinchman, who's still in a battle. In fact, he completely botches going through Lacombe there, and that's going to lose him a bunch of time. Meanwhile, just a heads up, Tony Lamberti did manage to get second. Blake Reynolds came home in third. Huff didn't get on that podium, finished in 4th.
Jabinski still fighting with Gall.
Here we see Jabinski, Gall right behind him. He's heading down into Pouan. Gall looking very aggressive here, looking right on top of him. See if he can make anything happen in this final lap.
Well, he gets to him right there. He's to him. Right on the bumper.
Oh, but he can't go anywhere.
Lost a little momentum there. Yep.
Curve of Paul Frere, not really an easy passing zone. Mark Jubinski trying to get himself a good exit, but it looks like Gall has just as good a one as the draft's going to start to pull him in. If he can get a good run coming through Blanchimont. Oh, it looks like he's starting to drop a little bit, though.
Well, it's going to come down to this braking zone here.
Is he going to toss it in? No, Jubinski even goes defensive for good measure just to keep him out of it. And off to the line they go. It looks like Jubinski is going to claim that top 10 position. Well done.
Let's go back to Smith and Murphy in a battle for 18th. Oh,
And
Murphy just made a dive bomb move before the chicane. Trying to do something.
Murphy.
Murphy did, make something out of nothing. Smith is going to get 18. Murphy's going to get 19th.
I believe that's going to be the last of our lead lap cars. So let's head to break. We are going to come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. So stick around for that. And also on screen, we're going to have our upcoming broadcasts here on the Global Sim Racing channel. So don't go away. Welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps, where we just saw round 6 of the Pacific Majors. In the end, Amjad Yaman Hot Shoe coming in just for the fun of it today, came away with the win and absolutely dominated, you have to say, with a 16-second lead. Tony Lamberti led early on, but just didn't have the pace to keep up with Yaman. He finished second. Blake Reynolds came home in third to complete the podium, just beat out Ryan Huff, who had a bad day at the office after looking like a potential winner today. Huff was in fourth. Hobart came home in fifth, just behind him. Then it was Kevin Brown in sixth, Alan Hesbeck in seventh, and David Williams in eighth. Chris Pence finished ninth, and Ryan Otis rounded out the 10th with a nice run at the end, Bill.
Mark Gugu Gajubinski, there, I've got it now, in 11th position. Rob Gall in 12th. The Baker Dozen spot goes to James Paulison. Jack Hinchman had that incident late, was able to salvage 14th spot there. Michael Smith had an exciting race in 15th. Kyle Murphy in 16th position. Larry Ford in the Ford 17th. Michael Lane 18th. Carl Burke 19th. And rounding out the top 20 is Jason Fleischle.
And bringing it home in 21st, Bob Beltrami. Mike Taylor right behind him in 22nd. Brian Barnes finishes 23rd. Wayne Hutchinson, after having a little trouble right on the start of the race, comes home in 24th. Fraser Marshall in 25th. Brian Bennett in 26th. We saw him fighting for quite a while there. Sam Bourne, 27th. Jimbo Pfeiffer in 28th. Chris Beck, 29th. Jason Pitts, 30th. And closing out the field here, the last four, Brent Trozen, 31st. Lionel Callisto, 32nd. Matt Gelder, 33rd, and we talked to James Wyckoff. He brings it home last night, 34th, 48 laps down.
James, of course, having to give in to just a few problems there. Unfortunately, health keeping him away from being more competitive today, but we have some interviews to do. First up, we have our winner, Amjad Yaman. Let's pull him into the room and see how his race went from his perspective. Hopefully he's back by this point. Amjad, you were kind of holding station in that first stint behind Lamberti. We kind of assumed that maybe you didn't have the pace. It seems now, in hindsight, that wasn't the case. Could you have outpaced him in that first stint if you wanted to?
It would have been tough because the McLaren's got that top-end speed. You know, going down from Eau Rouge up the Campbell Straight, the BMW's got no shot, and there's just no chance of passing. So I planned ahead for that, and that's kind of why I split the race in the thirds, and it worked out great for me.
Now, we understand that this was sort of a practice run for you for the actual Spa 24 coming up in a little bit of time. How would you rate this, and what do you think this says for your chances in the actual race?
It says we're probably doing pretty good. I really confident in the 49 Motorsports team. You know, Dex, Gary, myself running that. It's gonna be tough because we're gonna be in the top split, the best of the best, in an inferior car basically. So it's gonna be tough, but we just need to survive.
And one last question before we let you go. How in the world did you get 10 seconds between your stop and Lamberti's stop? Because that one took us by complete surprise. Where did that pace come from?
Oh, new tires are a great thing. That's why I kind of split it up, wanted to pit early, and just push on those couple of outlaps to get that gap.
So fresh tires was it then. We were kind of musing on a couple of different ways that you could have made those 10 seconds work, but either way, incredible job. And 16 seconds around here is quite a gap after 2.4 hours. So well done and congratulations.
All right, thank you.
Up next, I believe we have our second place finisher, and that is Lamberti. And I believe that Sean is going to talk to him. Let's pull Lamberti in. Oh, and I'm having some troubles pulling Lamberti into the booth here. There we go.
There he is. Yep, Tony's joining us up here in the booth. Tony, we bring in here, had that McLaren, the Samsung First Rate Mobile 1 McLaren running really good tonight. You led that whole first stint, had a little bit of trouble there, and you bring it home in second, but what a great race.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of fun. Had a lot of pressure from Amjad in that first stint. Tires gave up awfully early. But from there, just kept pushing. A lot of fun.
How much preparation did you put into today's race?
Oh, quite a bit. I think I turned over 200 laps practice, and I did mostly race fuel, but it felt different in the race. Of course, it's going to do that when you get pressure.
Yeah, and like you said, the tires. You said there in the first part that the tires went away pretty quick. How big a factor was that? I know that trip through Eau Rouge is pretty tricky, especially when your tires aren't favorable.
Ah, you're correct. Even worse than the McLaren is Blanchimont. That is absolutely disaster in the McLaren, and we were able to dial it in a little bit and make it through the race. It was good stuff.
Any plans of running next weekend in the 24, sir?
I think we're going to try to put something together with some of the guys here in the Texas Club. Hopefully we can.
Well, it'd be great to see you out there representing the great state of Texas, sir. Who would you like to thank for today's effort?
Oh, I'd just like to thank all the administration here at the Pac-4. It's a lot of fun. I appreciate everything they did, and you guys for broadcasting. Thanks a lot.
Well, thanks for making it up into the booth. We wish you luck at the 24 next weekend, and we'll see you soon. Travel safe, my friend.
You as well. Thank you.
All right, so I believe we are about to catch up with someone else here and bring them into the booth. Do we have our third place finisher, guys?
Unfortunately, I don't believe. Oh, actually, yeah, we do. But up next, we said we would talk to David Williams, so we'll switch to Blake Reynolds after Williams. And I believe that Bill has got a bone to pick with David here.
Okay, well, let's take it a step at a time. I don't like to get in too many arguments with ex-Marines. Dave, is that how they teach you to do to the Marines? Run it as long as you can?
Yeah, run till the wheels fall off, man. That's what you got to do.
Oh, my goodness. You were driving me crazy on timing and scoring. I couldn't, it's like not being able to balance the checkbook until I got that David Williams off the top of the charts. Ran second for a long time. Hey, tell us about the battle with Hasebeck afterwards.
Which time? I think we battled probably 4 different times on the track. We seemed to just be around each other the whole day. Go ahead.
Well, what I was curious about, since you ran so long, did you give the McLarens fresh tires for that final stint, or did you do it on old tires?
I did it on fresh tires. I was thinking about going no tires, but I just thought that I don't know this car that well, and I don't know how these tires are going to hold up. I didn't have any practice throughout the entire race, or the week pretty much. I did, I think, 40 laps all week, and I don't even drive this car, so I know zero about it. And I was like, man, I'm not going to risk it, because next thing I know, I'm going to come out on loose tires, and it's not going to do anything.
Yeah, one of the things we were talking about this series that we kind of like at GSRC is that it's because of the different types of tracks with ovals and road courses and even like the Predator thing. The standings are often mixed up. Do you consider yourself more of an oval driver? You feel more comfortable on the ovals?
Oh, not at all, man. I'm a road course guy. I don't race ovals at all. Only reason I've done any well at all in the ovals that we've had is just because of the amount of practice me and Jim has been able to put together. I know you guys kind of watch the forums and you kind of watch our practice sessions throughout the week, and typically me and Jim put in tons of laps before these races. So I think it's just the preparation that has helped us out on the ovals over there.
Yeah, because I think you really do well on those. Well, congratulations on a 7th place finish today. Very exciting, and we hope to. You think going to be running in the 24-hour thing? Do you have any plans to do that?
I think our TNT racing team, they're going to put together a team. I'm not sure exactly who it's going to be yet. I'm going to try to get some time in there, but with my new job now, I work on Saturdays, and it all depends on how things fall together and work themselves out. But our TNT guys, we've got quite a few guys that are interested, probably 5, 6, maybe 7. So I think we're going to get something out there, maybe even 2 teams.
Okay.
So
should be able to put together 24 hours somehow and piece that together. Well, good luck, and we will see you next time.
All right. Bill, before y'all kick me out of here, I'd just like to say thanks to our sponsor, GTR Simulator. Go over to TNT-racing.com. Check us out there. You can get a promo code for 30% off of all purchases at GTR Simulator and to Allenberg Racing Schools. Thank you.
You got it. All the guys at TNT Racing go to the Michael Waltrip School. Clearly, they are really trained. They study well. Joe, up to you.
That was David Williams, who simplified his way into 8th place. And up next, we have the last of the podium. We didn't think we got him, but I guess he snuck in when we weren't looking. And that is Blake Reynolds. And once again, I'm having trouble dragging people into the booth here, so someone will have to pull him in for me. And Blake, we have to say that there seems to be something in the water in Texas that helps you guys get around Spa, because you guys swept the podium.
Well, I don't know about that. It was just lucky, man. I'm tired.
I bet. You had some great battles there at the end with Ryan Huff. Were you aware that Williams still had to pit and that battle was for a podium position?
Yeah, considering where he started and how far ahead he was in front of me, and I knew he wasn't. He was going to run the BMW, and I didn't think he actually put in much time into the McLaren, so he couldn't have been that ahead of pace of me, and he wasn't up front at all. So I figured he was just stretching it as far as he could, and yeah, eventually he did pit. That oh, I was so happy when he did.
Oh, I can imagine the relief when you saw that number tick down. Now, we were talking some about the difference between the cars. Where did you find the strengths of your Ford over Huff's BMW, and how did that help you?
Well, I'm not sure. I do know that it bogs down out of the corners, and one time, I don't know if you guys caught that, you probably did, coming out of the chicane, I turned off the traction control, just trying to pull away from Huff, and I spun out, got behind him. I was lucky to chase him down, but I'd probably have to say mid-corner speed. I felt like the center off of the corner, I was able to really just catch up to him. I was able to get runs down some of the shorter straights.
Well, this was no mean feat, being in the top split and having 34 cars and being able to finish in third, especially considering you qualified ninth. So once again, congratulations. Nicely done today.
Thank you.
That was Blake Reynolds, our third place finisher, final spot on the podium here at Spa-Francorchamps for the 2.4 hours here in the Pacific Majors. We are going to close up today, though, so we have a few people that we need to thank. Obviously, thanks to Mike Willett, the organizer of the Pacific Majors. He puts a lot of stuff into this to make it all happen, so we can't thank him enough. Thanks to iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, Audio-Technica, Behringer, and Aver Media. They are the software and the hardware that we use to make our broadcast possible. Thanks to the team today. Obviously to Bill, Giancarlo, and Sean. Also special thanks to Kevin Brown for streaming his race from onboard. You can go and check that out afterwards. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and upcoming broadcasts. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. And in the social media world, we not only give you updates, but we love to interact with our fans. So come say hi, ask us questions, and we would love to just talk to you guys. Thanks goes out to Dougie Beard, who creates all the camera sets for the Global Sim Racing Channel. And a special thank you to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who both provide music for our broadcast. You can buy Eric's music on iTunes and Spotify, and Casey's at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com. Next race in the Pacific Majors, that is going to be back to the ovals at Auto Club in the DW12. That'll be Sunday, August 23rd at 5:45 p.m. Pacific when we go live. We also have upcoming races for other series on the screen right now, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.